Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Set Piece podcast. I am one half of the hosting team, Kyne, and I'm joined by my co-host, Robbie Collins. How are you doing today, Robbie?
I'm doing very good, thanks. Thank you. It's nice to finally start a Premier League podcast. This is also where it all began for us. We've been through many different adventures. I think it's safe to say, though, this is probably our most exciting yet. I'm really excited to get going with this.
Yeah, obviously, early days in our friendship, we went ahead and made a very original creative name in the sports show. Did about one video and then binned it off. And then, we've tried other things like wrestling and whatnot. But I think I'd say this is probably our best venture. This is the beginning. And I think it's going to go very well.
This is where we're most, I'd say, probably settled, to be honest with you. Talking about football, it's something, we both can relate to. We both watch a lot. It's different watching pro wrestling or whatever else it might be when you need to stay up till like 3, 4 a.m. to watch.
Yeah.
Whereas, football's available during the day, during the week as well. So it's always good.
Yeah. So I'm excited to get into it. Obviously, we've had a comment from Cameron saying that you're a St Mirren fan, so you don't fit to host the pod.
Yeah,
You're a Premier League watcher.
yeah, I'm a Premier League enjoyer. That's all that matters. I like to think I've got at least a bit of an opinion about the Premier League, whether it's the right one. I know I have been quoted as saying some absolutely outrageous stuff about the Premier League before, so we'll hope that doesn't happen this time.
Yeah, and obviously, I think the first ever episode we did for the podcast was the debut season of Haaland and Nunes, and you never uploaded the video. However, you did state that Darwin Nunes would outscore Erling Haaland, and he was a better player than him.
There's only one that's still currently in the Premier League and one's run to the Saudi League, so that shows my knowledge on that. But I like to think my opinions have gotten better. I've watched a wee bit more early years since we've done that, so I feel like I'm a lot better suited. And by the way, if anybody disagrees, I'm all for a comment. If you want to call my opinion straight, go for it. Feel free, drop them in the comments. Drop your thoughts, by the way, when we get into talking about the topic on the weekend's action. We'll be interested to hear your player of the week. That's always an interesting debate, so make sure to put that in the comments as well.
Yeah, I say just get into it. So I hope I've not got this wrong already. Opening game is West Ham Chelsea at the London Stadium. I say Chelsea 5-1.
Aye.
It's good for the FPL people who are the Al Pedro. Still playing.
It was until your captain Cole Palmer then found out 5 minutes before training was done that he was actually unavailable to play and he'd have to drop at the team.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
No idea, but I suppose I know Chelsea scored 5 goals and they looked a lot more dominant than West Ham. I suppose the talking points is West Ham. It's not been a great start for Potter's men. Some could say it's falling apart like Hogwarts sometimes. So I had to just get a Harry Potter joke in there somewhere. But no, it is it's not been a great start for West Ham.
No, I think obviously I think Chelsea had a better side, obviously, so it's one of those games. But I think if you're a West Ham fan, you can't be happy with that at all. Obviously there's already been shouts maybe about sacking the gaffer. I think the first 2 games they have not played well at all. There's some, certain players like Paqueta sticks out. Obviously, is like a diamond in the rough, a shining part of the shit. But I don't think it's going to be enough. And I think if something doesn't change, they could definitely be going down this season.
Aye, well, 8 goals conceded in the opening 2. Only scored 1 none out the League Cup to Wolves yesterday. I mean, everything has gone wrong at West Ham, and it wasn't that long ago, they were celebrating winning the Conference League. It's all just went downhill. I suppose a lot of fans are probably frustrated that David Moyes gets sacked when he did. A lot of people think they should have stuck by him. Do you think they should have stuck by Moyes?
I think they should have, and I think it's more. I don't think it's down to that. I think he'd have took them into like the big top 6 and whatnot. I think it's more down to the manager market, and I think obviously we can get into it a little bit later. I'm sure we will as a Man United fan, but it's the same I think for United in a scenario where, as a club, as a business in a sense, you do have to be wise with the decisions you make. Is it the right time? And I think that does come also down to, is it the right time to sack him? Because is there somebody else better available that will join and take us that step forward? And I think that's the mistake they've made. I don't think David Moyes would have done worse than what Potter's going to do.
And I actually didn't think Potter was that bad a manager when it got announced as being the West Ham gaffer. But it's just no worked. I don't know if it's the system or, you can see what they're trying to go for against Chelsea anyway. They lined up with Bowen, Bowen and Fulkrug up front. You've seen the two of them. You can see they're going for the big guy, trying to play after the wee guy. It just did not work. And I suppose you need to give credit to Chelsea as well. They lined up well. They lined up attacking. I know it was a really nice goal for Piqueta to open up the scoring, but as soon as Chelsea found a groove, they looked a much better team.
Yeah, and I think obviously, you can argue that Chelsea have spent however much and they've signed, 15 odd bloody players over the last however many, the last 2 seasons. But I do think that it just does come down to Potter's tactics. And I think obviously Chelsea had a good side. I'm not discrediting them at all by saying that West Ham played poorly. But I do just think it's a scenario where Potter needs to change his tactics. Obviously, it's early. It's only been 2 game weeks. It's very hard to now say who's going to go down, who's staying up, who's winning the league. Anything can happen. I think you've got to get to about game week 10, get into 10 to 15 to then start to see consistent things of how poorly people are playing or how good teams are. But obviously, it's not been the best of starts for them, has it, when they played like this?
Well, it's like FPL, and everybody after game week 1 dropped João Pedro. He said he wasn't the man for the FPL team. People always stuck by him, and look what happens. He was absolutely on fire against West Ham.
Yeah, and it happens. It's the same as most teams. Looking at obviously the likes of Man City.
Aye.
They didn't go well at the Etihad at all, and I think that for me, obviously, with City this isn't going to be a consistent thing. They're not going to play like this next week. It's not going to happen for the next 4 weeks. But just to see that it can happen, and just see that they really were, because they were poor. I don't think even City fans probably agree. There was no excusing it. There wasn't a reason. They were just absolutely awful. They didn't create anything. And I feel bad for James Trafford because obviously last week he played well. You coming here at Tottenham always seems to be one of those games where Tottenham do seem to nick something. But the way they did it, Tottenham deserved it, but City did kind of gift it to it, felt like.
They went there last season under Ange and put 4 past City that they had, so they can go there and do it. Back to this game, there's one really interesting player that scored, Trevor Chalobah, and I never thought he was, before this sort of season, I never thought he'd really break into Chelsea starting 11. I thought there was maybe better defenders that they maybe could have brought in and fielded anyway. But he's sort of made that starting centre back slot he's in, I'd argue. A goal. Chelsea defensively, bar that one crazy wonder goal, Piqueta looked very comfortable in defence.
Yeah, I think obviously they've got options. I don't think Chalobah is probably slotted as a guarantee for the rest of the season. Obviously rotations happen anyway, but obviously you've got the likes of Fofana. You've got Hato on the bench. So he's playing alongside Tosin. I believe they've got like Badashile as well. Obviously they've got lots of options to go from. I think Chalobah's good. I don't think it's Premier League winning quality though.
No.
And the way Chelsea are anyway, I could definitely see them next season probably going for a big centre back signing, getting someone proper in.
I think that's what they're probably missing. I mean, you look at the midfield, Caicedo and Fernandes. I mean, that is probably a Premier League quality winning midfield. I mean, they are the top-notch midfielders. You've got João Pedro now, and I know you've got Delat, Pedro Neto, Esteval. I mean, they've got players in there. You probably are just looking at that centre back slot and going, you just need like a Van Dijk level centre back in there. They could reasonably push for the league title, maybe, depending on how other teams go. I mean, then we'll get into talking about, West Man City, Liverpool's, Arsenal's. There's a lot of quality in the Premier League.
Yeah, and I think that's why it is, classified as the best league in the world. And it's also not easy to get your hands on a centre half that is as good as like your Van Dijk, your Salibas. So I just think it comes down to the investment and what they do. But they could also go and sign 3 centre backs in one window and have 8 on the bench. So you can pick and choose whatever you want, really, depending on how they're playing. So nice for some.
I'll start 11 a centre back. That'll be interesting. But
Probably could.
speaking of the wonder goal, Piqueta, sort of came out of nowhere, picked up some good space, just decided to have a go. The swerve on the ball as it was reaching the Chelsea goalkeeper was just mental. Contender for goal of the season already.
I think it's got to be up there. I think there will be better scored, but obviously, I think it's probably the best so far. It is. I reckon end of the season it'll be there as a potential winner, a candidate.
I mean, just in Europe in general, we've already seen some absolute crackers scored, so I think it will definitely be up there for the Premier League one. It's quite interesting though, you're looking at West Ham's next couple of games, Nottingham Forest away and then Tottenham at home. You know, please gamble responsibly, but if you had a quid, I don't think you're putting it on West Ham to win their next 2 games, are you?
No, I think it's going to be very tough for them. And just got to see how they bounce back, really, because in my mind, looking at it, and I think most people would agree, it looks like 2 losses. I don't. There's just nothing was shown on those first 2 games that makes you think they could get that result over Forest, or they could nick a draw, maybe even take the 3 points against Tottenham. So it's not looking good.
I mean, they scored 2 against Wolves. I've not yet watched the highlights of that game last night, but you know, another loss to a Wolves team that haven't had the greatest start in the world.
Yeah, it's not ideal. I think something has to change. So you don't know if maybe that's incomings trying to sign players, see where that goes. But for me, I think it is they're in for a rough season if it doesn't turn around. Obviously,
Well, I mean,
pretty obvious. If it doesn't get better, they're going down with 0 points. So wouldn't be ideal.
I mean, I think if you lose the next 2 games and it doesn't matter who you're facing, you know, they need to start picking up points eventually. So if you lose your next 2 games, Potter is probably on the verge of the sack already, which, you know, some would argue it's maybe too early to start flinging out managers and start sack managers, but, you know, momentum's a big thing in football. If you're on a losing mentality and a losing run, it doesn't get better until something changes.
Yeah, and that tends to be how it goes, really, doesn't it? And then obviously, you know, with West Ham following that, they'd have ending out September, Palace, Everton, and then Arsenal. And for me, those 3, obviously, 5 games in total. Just to me, I don't see him nicking a result.
Nah,
Just obviously, again, it's early, and you could be something could change going into the next game. Obviously, there could be a change in tactics, a change in style, but based off the 2 weeks, based off what we've seen, that could be 5 games where it ends with Potter getting sacked. And I
nah.
think he will be if they don't get probably 1 or 2 results in that.
Here's a bit of a mental shout, Jane. If Potter was to get sacked after these 2 games and this guy wasn't in a job, Jane Cans would maybe be in line for the job.
I don't think he'd take it.
No.
I just don't think it's. I don't know. When I look at West Ham, I don't see him as an ambitious club.
No.
Like they got the Conference League, and then for me, it didn't really feel like they tried to key. Like you look at your Villa and what they did when they kind of started breaking into that top 6 area. You look at what Forest have been doing. Even again at Bournemouth, that shows the difference. And I think it's a scenario of it's hard because certain clubs, big clubs, come in and nick the players, and that's why it's hard to keep going and push to the top. But then I think you've got to invest right. And I just think West Ham haven't done that since the European success, which can lead to this. So for me, I wouldn't see Ange go in there. You're looking at more of a relegation scrap, get Sean Darchin. Get a scruffy manager in there, 4-4-2. Get playing all right.
I mind West Ham did just to line up in the 4-4-2 and it did, you know, it worked a lot of the time. I think, you know, that sort of three-back that we've seen, I just don't think Tadibo, I think it was Kilman and I can't remember the other centre-back that they had. They just don't look comfortable with each other. They just don't look like they fit with each other. They don't look like they connect properly. You know, as soon as they conceded the first half of Chelsea, the heat dropped and it just started going wrong for West Ham very, very quickly.
Yeah, it was. I just think the tactics need to change.
Would they have a
Hello,
comment?
Sam.
Sam, I hope you're doing well, mate.
I think he supports Port Vale. Obviously, they aren't quite as good as Stoke, obviously. Bear that in mind. But yeah, I think West Ham, it's not going to be a great season with the way things have been going. Do you think Potter will get sacked this season?
I can only look at it for the way it's gone so far. When you've conceded 8 in 2 games to Chelsea and Sunderland, I think that tells you the story. I think it will be, and it could be as soon as the next 2 games. It genuinely could be if they, if they lose the next 2 games. He's under pressure going into that Palace game at home, and if they got points in that and lose again, I think it would be sacked. What about you?
Yeah, I don't see him lasting the full season, to be honest. It's crazy.
I was seeing there, Port Vale picked up a good win versus Birmingham away in the cup.
Yeah,
Like
that's not too far. No, I don't see him lasting. Just for me, obviously, as you said, and we've said, early. It is early. It's hard to predict where it's all going to go, but it looks like it's all going to go wrong for West Ham and for Potter precisely because Voldemort's coming for him. He will not be the manager who lived. He'll be the manager who got sacked.
I did get undone by Enzo Voldemort, so that was bad for them. But Chelsea up next, Fulham at home, then Brentford away. Good to build momentum, and I think they can. I think they can take positivity going into these next 2 games. Where I think, especially at home against Fulham, they should probably be considered favourites to win that game.
Yeah, I think definitely even those 2 games that you've mentioned there, I do think they'll pick up 6 points.
Aye. Yeah. And then you've got Man United away, which will be a pretty good big game. Sam says a very good win for us to carry up over into the league. I mean, away at Birmingham, good win. I wonder who. It'll be interesting to see the draw. Is it after the Man United game tonight? I think
so. Yeah.
So that should be interesting. Port Vale will be Man United at home in the next round.
I think you mean Grimsby.
Well, we'll get to that a bit later on.
We're going out on pens.
Oh man, but no, I do think Chelsea should be considered favourite. And look, it's interesting with Chelsea. Do you think they can push any higher than top 4? Do you think they could be up there contender, or do you think they're just a couple signings after that?
I think they had a couple of signings off the league. I think I know it's hard, but I think the issue for me with them is doesn't seem to be those star signings coming in a sense. There's a multitude of kind of, I don't want to say mid in a disrespectful way, but the same kind of calibre of player. There's not that part that, like an Erling Haaland when he came into City, there's not that big name, like Florian Wirtz. Obviously, it's not played well, but that name and Frimpong, those big names coming in that show that you are pushing for that. You're trying to keep the title, you're going after that title. Even Arsenal bringing in Gyökeres, who's not been great, but obviously we will get into it. I just think that's what Chelsea seem to lack. Like, for me, for the number 9, when there's the likes of Osimhen out there was Gyökeres, and they've gone for Liam Delap. It just, I don't want to say a lack of ambition, because I understand that they're going for a multitude more than individuals. But for me, if I was a Chelsea fan, I would be a bit pissed off. I would be thinking, why haven't we gone and got a world-class number 9 that's available on the market? Because for me, they're hard to come after these days. They're not easy to pick up. I mean, you look at United, what they've done for the striker-wise in the last few years, bar Ronaldo. It's not easy to get someone that is quality, that can hit the ground running, that can keep that up in the Premier League.
Do you think Pedro can be that guy? Like, I know obviously they've got Delap in there as well, but I'm looking at Pedro already, and he does look like a very, very good player for them.
He is, but I think obviously he can turn into it. Obviously, he's still fairly young, isn't he? Pretty sure it's like 23 or something. Yeah, it is 23. But got that right on the button. He could definitely turn into that man for them, but I still just think in this scenario, for me, it felt more like I'm a bit surprised that they didn't go and get one of the top 9s that was on the market. But Pedro could be the guy, and I could be wrong. And they've got scouts for a reason. They're professionals. It's their job. I'm sure they probably know more than me.
Well,
So,
I would hope they know more than us to put together, to be
well,
honest with you.
I've got my level
Well,
1 in scouting.
we have a
Yeah,
lot of good football manager experience under our
yeah.
belt, so
I took Everton to win the Premier League with Dele Elliott cam, but hey up.
that you and Josie were right. He always had the talent for that.
Exactly. Great minds think alike. But is there anything else we'll talk about regarding those two teams?
No, I don't think so. I think we've covered pretty much everything. It was just a really dominating performance for Chelsea. I was a bit shocked when I heard Sunderland won 3-0, but I was kind of like, look, it's the opening day of the league. They're back in the Premier League now. You can understand why they would have been up for it at home. Kind of excuse West Ham for that. I was still like a bit of shocked that they didn't put on made a fight, but I was like, I can kind of let that by. But your first home game, the Friday night kick-off, and bar one really big wonder goal for Paqueta, they just served up nothing at all. And I do believe they did score a goal to go 2-1 up or 2-0, I think, and it get chopped off. But bar that, they served absolutely nothing in the game.
No, yeah, they felt dead in a sense of
Aye.
it was just the team wasn't alive. They didn't seem like they were to fight for it. And rarely I'd be thinking if I was Potter, even a player, that you've gone 1-0 up against Chelsea early on here. Let's go now, act on it, keep it going. Let's be more intense, go for it. Leave a bit more in when you go in for a challenge. Try and win every ball, every second ball. And for me, they just didn't seem like they wanted to win that game. It was like they were forced to play on that pitch. They didn't want it to go and win it.
And it was weird because the fans were completely behind them. It was some atmosphere at the London Stadium. So, they couldn't even say, oh, the fans weren't really getting us up for it. I mean, they were on top of them, but after they scored that first goal, begging them to go and get a second. And West Ham just never done it.
Well, yeah, it's a London derby, innit? Is it the north? No, south, west. Some form of derby in London.
Aye.
No one's really asked about them ones. It's just Arsenal, Spurs, and Chelsea, Arsenal.
No.
Or Chelsea, Spurs, even the Battle of the Bridge. It's a cracker. But speaking of Spurs, would you say the shock of the weekend?
I would say so. Aye. I don't think there's anything else looking at the card that really did shock, to be honest with you. I think the only one you can maybe say is Villa, or Burnley, maybe against Sunderland, but even I don't think that's as big a shock.
Burnley, to be fair, because that Burnley team is...
well, they've got Jadon Anthony, so,
It's not a great, and he's not Prem quality, so I don't think it's a great team. But obviously, Tottenham picked up the 2-0 win at the Etihad. And I think for me, it was more of a shock, wasn't because Tottenham won, because you could look at it and see Tottenham winning. The shock factor was more how poor Manchester City were. The fact that there was such a lack of creativity. There was just nothing there with them. There was the odd chance where obviously there's a bit of shine, as you expect from Man City, but majority of the time it just looked dead. Cherky was absolutely awful.
Aye.
They just...
A lot of the midfield was, I don't know too much about that Gonzalez that they've got in there, but oh my, he was really poor as well. City just didn't have much. I don't know, it just didn't look like the team linked together very well. It looked like there was a lot of miscommunication in the game. I thought one thing I took away from the Tottenham side, they look a lot better defensively. Under Ange, if they went there had in that game last season, they would have been piling on the pressure. They would have been trying to keep the ball high up the pitch. But if it's straight City, Frank seems to be going a lot more defensive, which, by the way, I did say somewhere else as well. I like that. I like that he's gone a bit more defensive. He doesn't need to rush forward. He doesn't. That's where I maybe thought Ange get caught out a lot of the time when he was in charge. I felt like he maybe was leaving himself too vulnerable. Frank's a lot more steadier. He's got a very well balanced team. They're very good defensively, but in attack as well, they're very clinical. So it was a great win for Spurs, but I think a lot of the chat was just about how poor City won, how fragile they seemed to be at the back. Every time Spurs came forward on the counter-attack, they genuinely looked like they could score.
Yeah, pretty much every time City, they just... I feel like it's the same as that West Ham side of things, where they just didn't really whatsoever look up for it and anything there. Like the team just lacked life, and I think there's the odd player like Oscar Bob, which is young, so there's a bit more of leniency there. But I think when you're looking at your Ruben Diaz and the way John Stones played, who, you know, is part of the treble-winning team. He's experienced. He's played there. He's won the Prem. So's Diaz. You know, even Rico Lewis is young, but I mean, he's played in the Champions League. He's won trophies. He's been there. They were just absolutely awful, and I don't know what's changed. I've seen online people are saying that maybe Pep's lost the dressing room because maybe it's gone. Maybe the game's gone for him. He's lost it.
I mean, like, obviously, we will never know if Pep's lost the dressing room. I know we can only speculate, but it does certainly seem that way. It just doesn't seem like his team are getting fired up for games anymore. One player that I want to ask you about, and I'm so split up on, is Ain't Nouri at left back. I don't think he had the worst game in the world, but I just don't know if he's Man City quality. In my opinion, I don't know. Obviously, we've still got a lot of football to watch, and he could go on fire. But in that game, he just didn't look like he done much at all.
No, obviously he went off. I think after about 20-odd minutes.
Aye.
Was injured, but even those 20-odd minutes, I don't think he is. I think it was just a classic Pep scenario of having the money, wanting a left back, signing that left back, and then, you know, if he doesn't turn out to be City quality, I'm sure he'll sign a new left back in January anyway, or even another one by the end of the fucking window, knowing them, because they want Donnarumma like they've not got Trafford and Edison. He could be on his way out, but we'll see where it goes.
I mean, another player, Rinders, as well, had arguably City's best chance in the first half when, I don't know if you remember it, he picked the ball up in the middle. It's good played on the right, picked up in the middle, got a lot of space, and instead of taking on his left foot and shooting, he tries to go for the chip ball at the top of the defence. And at that point, it's just, you know, you can blame Pep as much as you want, but the decision making for the players needs to be better. He needs to recognise he's got all the space in the world, take on his left foot and have at least a shot at goal.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because obviously with Rangers last week, phenomenal. Probably the best player on the pitch. Looked like this is going to be a key for Manchester City this season. And then I think he was one of the poorest players on the pitch as well. I don't think any of the team looked good. I think Haaland was dreadful. I mean, he was the one when I think it was Cherky might have didn't get the shot off. Haaland passed it across the box, but he just put way too much on it. And I think for me, that's why that debate, obviously, it's a little different now, I think, but you might remember the Haaland versus Mbappe one. You know, that was the classic because at the same time, they both were kind of rising up. And I said Mbappe because to me, he's a better football player. The technical ability, and I think little things like that where Haaland's in the box, he's trying to pass it across, and he's putting so much on it. There's so much power on it to the point where your teammate can't get to the ball in time. Just for me, that's not what he needs. Obviously, we know he's a poacher. He likes to tap it in. He likes to be there. You'll find him on the end of your cross, or he'll run onto it and bury it. He's very good at that, and that's great. But those scenarios when, for me, I think he should have been subbed off. I don't think he should have been. I'm not going to say excuse because obviously Pep's got his own tactics and ideas. But for me, if that was, you know, United, I'd have been calling for him to get subbed off because he was awful. Hello, Johnny McRoberts.
Johnny, hello. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Did we mention that Mr. Kyne here met CM Punk?
Did no one mention that?
No one mentioned that? No,
I did.
Don't know if I'd be able to see that.
Yeah, just that guy, Phil Brooks or something like
just
that.
Peps to Phil, you know what I mean?
He's like CM Punk or something like that. I don't know. And then Joe Hendry came out.
As CM Punk some wrestler, like, you know, back in the day, he had that really good pipe bomb, that one thing.
I'm not too sure. And is it? I think there's like a black T-shirt with gloves like that, and then it's signed. It's weird that.
Alfie is in the house as well.
Yeah, that is lovely. That is absolutely lovely. But you know, there's a lot of negative things to say about City. But I think that's, like you say, it overshadows, I think, how good Tottenham were. Which is what I want to talk about. I think Mohamed Kudus is absolutely unbelievable. And the way he's been playing for them, he definitely could be the man to take them that inch forward and do a very good job to take that team that Ange's left and just boost it up that extra bit.
And it must have been frustrating for Tottenham fans. I've had transfer deals just go all over the place in recent weeks. You know, they've not really been able to secure deals, and you know, I feel like they've been struggling a bit in the window. But getting someone like Kudus in, we know he's got quality. You know, we know he's a great player, and link that up with what I do believe it's a really good Spurs squad. I know they finished really low in the Premier League last year under Ange. Obviously, sorry, Kyne, I'll remind you, winning the Europa League. The day showed that they've got quality. Uh, we spoke earlier about Chelsea and their two centre backs. I think Spurs have got two absolutely brilliant centre backs on the pitch, Romero and Van de Ven. I think they're absolutely magnificent. So you add someone like Kudus to that, and I don't know what business Spurs will still do between now and the end of the window, but it's looking real promising for them.
Yeah, obviously they were heavily linked with us,
Alfred United smashed
Yeah.
them for them.
Now we're losing on pens. It's going to be stinky. I think, obviously, they were looking at Eze. That fell through. I
Obviously,
mean,
that
from
fell
what
through. That's
Fabrizio had said, it was practically done, and Arsenal snatched it. They wanted Mbeumo. He chose United. They got Kudus over him. And then bringing in Palhinha on loan. He, for me, I don't know if he was, but I'd say he's man of the match. And so he got the goal, and I think he was just phenomenal and really dictated the game. But
Aye.
I think they just played well as a team, and obviously you could sit here and go every individual player and say how good they were, how well they played, because that's how good of a team they were. Everyone played the part in that victory, which is why I think, as we said it over on Robbie Dance, I think Tottenham are going to do very well this season. I think this is a good year for them.
Predicted them to win a cup, so I mean, you've got the faith in them. I agree. I think the one thing I like about this Tottenham team is the other team, all together. They're clearly buying into what Thomas Frank's selling them, which is hard to do as a manager. I don't think as much as the Spurs players seemingly loved Ange, and you've seen the amount of respect he was getting when he left and he was announced he's left. That clearly was just something that they weren't buying into under him in the league anyway. That is why it was such a poor season. I know you can blame injuries and all that other nonsense, but they were doing really low. So it's understandable there was a bit of frustration there for fans. Under Frank, I said it earlier, they just looked so good defensively. I was so impressed. They weren't as high pressing as Ange, and I don't think you need to be. I think that's why Frank will work, because he's a bit smarter than Ange in that respect. And I'm not going to sit here and criticise Ange Postecoglou's tactics, because he's won a lot of trophies in his career and he's clearly up there for a reason. But just for the outside looking in, I think at Tottenham you need a bit of balance. I think you need to be good defensively as well as attacking, and I feel like Frank and the team certainly picked their moments. In the counter attack they were absolutely brilliant. That's where the first goal actually comes from. And they ran Air City when they get the chance.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think that with something with Ange's philosophy, I don't think the players had bought into it and were willing to, fight for it in a sense. Whereas obviously Thomas Franks came in the door and they just seem like a completely different team to last season when there's only really one or two changes, maybe three. Obviously the tactics different, but for me, they have Thomas Frank might be the man to take Tottenham towards a major trophy.
Aye, well, that's the thing. Ange, there's no doubt in my mind they loved Ange as a manager, as a person. You've seen that with Madison's Instagram story when he left. They could clearly had a good connection with Ange, but in terms of tactics, trying to play that high energy pressing for the whole season must have really been taking out the players. And I know that's what they're paid today and all, but something like Frank's tactics and Frank's, I'm assuming, training philosophy, it's probably a lot less high intensity and a lot less pressure, but might actually do them the world of good when it comes to these type of games.
Yeah, it could definitely work well for them because I think, you have less of that intensity in training. It's got a different idea for the game and it seems to work out for them this time. Obviously, I'm sure we can say many times today, it's early in the season. Things can go wrong, things can improve. But obviously, taking it as it is right now, it's looking very good for Tottenham. And I think if I was a Spurs fan, I'd be excited for the games ahead.
I'd be very excited. I'm actually just forgot to bring up the fixture list to see who each team's actually playing next. City have got a pretty decent bounce back game, I'm sure that I've seen. So they should probably be. Hold on, I'm just trying to get the fixtures up. Brighton next, is it? Is it Brighton? I think 31st of August, Brighton away. So I mean, it's not as an easy game as I originally maybe thought it was, but they should be looking to try and bounce back in a game like that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a game where they can come back and Haaland can score four. and they were just. But
but
even for me, that could be that game where Manchester City look phenomenal. But I think what I think is important to remember is if you cast your mind back to last season, there was I can't remember at what point in time it was, but there's about 2 to 3 months, 2 to 3 months maybe, where they were on a losing streak. They'd lost about 5, 6 games. Obviously, still ended up going on. They didn't win the league. Liverpool did, but they still ended up picking those points back up and ended up in the top 4. But that for me is a key thing to look at and go, maybe he has lost the. Obviously, speculation. We don't know. We're not in the dressing room. We don't work with City. We don't know anyone who does. We ain't getting no inside sources here. But having that happen to me as someone who's regarded as one of the greatest managers of all time, he doesn't seem to change it. He doesn't seem to adapt it in the sense of there's something going wrong. All those I can't remember. Let's call it 4 games in a row that they lost. I think it might have been more. There were some draws in there. I remember they weren't winning specifically. And then I went to a game and he ended up the one game I went to, they won. Because that was when, Pep is iconic that he wants to harm himself. And he had visible scratches on him. Like he was losing his nut. And that's why I went to the game because I thought he might lose. And I thought he was going to crash out.
But
for me, I think those scenarios where they're not picking those points up and he's not adapting, he's not changing anything. I don't want to call him egotistical, obviously. But I think there's a bit of stubbornness there to think that he plays the best football, so he doesn't need to change it. It's down to the players, which, in some cases it is. But did you not think there's a point where maybe they figured out how he plays? Because City never seemed to take that risk in the sense of those last 10 minutes. They weren't, everyone go forward, let's try and rescue the game, we've got the quality. It was still that Pep pass out from the back. It was still slow build up. And for me, if you're 2-0 down at home, that's got to be the 10 minutes where the crowd's getting you going. Your full-backs are getting further up the pitch, your midfielders are getting stuck in more, and City they don't take the risk. And I think he's probably drilled it into his players that we don't do that. We take it slow, we go from the back forward, we go backwards to go forwards. But in those scenarios, it doesn't work, it doesn't pay off for them. If anything, it makes them lose games and not get those points. Because there was times last season where they'd be 1-0 down and they're not doing that in the last 5-10 minutes, which rarely is the time to be doing it. I get not doing it, for the first 80 minutes, but you go 1-0 down, you're losing maybe to Wolves, Forest. That is the time then when you go, put the tactics out the window. Let's rescue the game. Let's get some out of it.
Said Alex did it. Sure,
yeah,
I said last 10 minutes, but what's the point in waiting, trying to play the same way? Just pick a couple men up. That's the worst that can happen.
That's the truth of it, really. When you look at some of the keepers that go up for corners, everyone gets up there. Even you see in games, centre backs end up playing at Cam. They've got forward enough in that game, and that is what you've got to do. Because for me, the game's going to go the same way as it's been going. It's not changed anything. You're still playing that same football that you failed to score with the last 80 minutes. Let's have a bit more, go forward, be a bit more confident, aggressive.
Well, Man United's a perfect example. Look at the Europa League run last season when you looked dead and buried at Old Trafford. You send a few men forward late in the game, everything turns around. It can happen. And you mentioned a really good point there. You were talking about goalkeepers. We've not even spoke about probably the biggest point of the match, James Trafford. Obviously, you said you mentioned a really good point about people figuring out Pep's game plan. Tottenham go to take a tee with that second goal just in half time. They're trying to play it for the back. Tottenham put the pressure on. I still can't remember who the ball went into. I don't know if it was Gonzalez into his feet. Flipped, obviously. Probably more Trafford's fault than Gonzalez's, to be honest. Spurs capitalise on it. Pellegrini, as you said, a really nice smash into the back of the net. And at that point, it could have been anything to Tottenham. I thought City fell apart going into the second half as well.
Yeah, they did. They just, even, obviously, they had longer in the after half time. Spurs really came back on the pitch. It's focused on that City was still in the changing room, probably getting bollocked. But then they didn't come out with fire. They didn't come out and look fired up and a bit more aggression like they have been told off. Did they go in there and Pep just sat down in silence and just held his head in his hands like that? Didn't know what to do. But I think I wouldn't say something's got to change because you know what City's like. They can have this moment and then they'll go and win 10 on the bounce. So it's hard. I just think they shouldn't be losing these games in that fashion. It can happen, obviously. It's football. But in the way they lost it, not acceptable for me as a
No,
if I was a City fan.
what do you make though? There's something really interesting interviewing Thomas Frank at half time. To me, that's, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think you should interview managers or players at half time. We've seen it. Came into the game a wee bit more recently, in the last sort of season. There's been a couple player interviews here and there at half time. But I just think a manager should never be, interrupted during a game. He's trying to get his team to win. He's 2-0 up at the City, the Etihad. He's having a really good game. The last thing you should be doing is try to distract him or try to talk to him about the way the game's gone and his game plan and stuff like that.
Yeah, for me, it's that Americanization of the sport. I
Aye.
think that is the issue where, for me, it's half time, get in that changing room. And, for Thomas Frank, that's get your players going, keep them going, keep playing the same thing, keep doing what you're doing because you are outplaying City. But then, having to speak to, and no disrespect to the reporter or whatever, stands there and you've got to answer a few questions. She goes, "What's the plan for the second half?" Like, I'm going to tell you on live teller. You know what I mean? He goes, "Let's keep, win the game." It's like, I feel like there's nothing to gain from it. But
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be too long before players and coaches might speak out about it. Because I reckon there'll be someone will either say something live on TV or refuse to do it, and there'll be a bit of an outrage. And then I think it will, because if it's 1-1 at half time in an important game where you're losing, or even if it's just 0-0 and you want to speak to a player and he goes, "You're taking the piss." Got to get in there and listen to the gaff. You don't want to walk in mid-team talk. Sorry, I was just speaking to Sky.
Yeah, can you imagine, by the way, in that game, you're 2-0 down at half time. Imagine you're a City fan and Pep Guardiola was the one speaking to the media, and someone's
Yeah, and
asking Pep, "How do you bring this back in the second half?" I'd be fuming.
I think Pep was probably one of the people that would say something a bit, spicier and be like, why? What's the? I don't think there's a need for it. It doesn't add anything. It's the
No.
same as that ref camera. It's just woke.
Aye, but you know what I do enjoy? Seeing how the referees actually speak to the crowd after big VAR calls in the Prem.
Yeah.
I like that. That should be a thing, because that happens, and I can't remember what American sport it is, but that happens.
It's the NFL, I think.
I just think that, like, I agree with you. I don't think the manager should be getting spoke to during a game, but see the referees actually telling the fans what's happening and why they've gave that decision. I like that. I think that's good.
Well, yeah, it happened in Liverpool Newcastle when Gordon
Aye.
got sent off, which I think it was the first time I've seen it.
Aye, it happened in another
He came on,
Premier.
and
Aye,
he
it
just
did.
went. He came in, stood too fast on his standing leg. The choice is over to him, red card.
It was Bournemouth Wolves, I think, when Totti gets sent off, and I think the referee said it for that decision as well. So there's been a couple of times. I actually do really like it, but I think it is insightful. I'd like to see it go into more leagues as well.
Yeah, it definitely adds, and I think that's one of the complaints I think people do have sometimes about the AR, especially if you're at the stadium, because obviously at home you can watch it. If you're at the stadium, you're not able to, and then you are sometimes, I won't say confused, but you're a bit, you don't get what's happened, why, and then you've got to go and watch match of the day, and they're trying to explain the rules that are in the book. But then there's a challenge from last week that broke the same rules and they didn't get sent off. I think it's trying to work towards a consistency level for that, but also this is good because if you sat there, even if you're watching it, you might not be the biggest football fan, so you could look at that Gordon tackle potentially and go, "Well, it's a yellow." I mean, he takes him out, but obviously I think it was a red, but having that just extra bit of clarity from the referee to explain, he's standing like he's gone in way too fast. He's not really looked where he's going. He's just kind of clattered him. It's a red card, and it's good. I like it. I think that is a nice little addition.
I agree. Tottenham now 2 wins out of the first 2. Pretty tough team to face the start. They face Bournemouth at home next. That's another game where they should be looking to try and get another 3 points on the board.
Yeah, I think Bournemouth are a decent team. I think obviously they've lost Dean Hugen from last season. I have definitely absolutely fumbled that pronunciation. But Hausen, maybe. The class centre now. And then for Tottenham, I think I'd say it's a must win in a sense of to bounce back from City and kind of show a bit of consistency, keep the momentum going, carry it on.
I mean, that's the thing. Last season, Spurs could go out and smash a team and then lose the next week, to a arguably weaker team, if you will. So, I think it's time to show a bit of consistency, but I definitely like McKinn. I think they've got consistency in them now, under a very good manager, in my opinion, which, we'll get into speaking about Brentford later on. They obviously picked up a win, but I thought they would have fell apart, if I'm being honest, without, the manager, and they lost a couple of key players as well. But no, I think it is definitely working at Tottenham.
Yeah, it's going well for them, and I'll basically just see where the season goes really at this point.
No.
I think is the best point. Are you happy with everything about the game? Happy to shift on. Up next at the Vitality Stadium, Bournemouth 1-0 over 10 men, Wolverhampton Wanderers. The goal came from Tavernier. I think Semenyo got the assist as well.
Yeah, it did. Did you watch the highlights of this game?
I've seen the highlights. Yeah.
It was a very, very fast start, when there was about 5 highlights inside the opening 20 minutes. It was mental. I think there was two crossbar hits, a really nice save, I think for both goalkeepers at some point. And then obviously you had the goal in the mix as well. It was a really fast start. I liked it.
Yeah, it was kind of proper. I think it seemed like the both teams were going for it. It was just a let's go on it. But I think overall, obviously, from what I've seen, so you can't go into too much detail. I think Bournemouth played well. I think they just put in a good shift, played well. Tyler Adams, for me, was a solid player. I'd say probably the standout for me in the match, despite the yellow card. I don't bother me that people drop a rating because someone got a card. I think it happens. If you took someone down for the right reason, a tactical foul, gotta do it.
Bit of passion.
Yeah, a bit of passion, a bit of fight to have. Yeah, Tavernier the bagsman.
I mean, it was. I think there was good players on the Wolves side as well. But I quite like that Strand Larsen guy up front that they've got. I think he could be a decent player. I don't think they showed too much, to be honest with you, bar the sort of opening half. I thought Wolves, they went for it as much as Bournemouth did in the opening sort of 15-20 minutes. But you say that, Tavernier looks good. You could say Semenyo looks good again, getting an assist. There's multiple players on each team that look really good. And look, it's not exactly been a brilliant start for Wolves. I know they get absolutely dismantled by Man City. But they picked up another good win last night, obviously West Ham in the Cup. So it's been a pretty average start of the season. The best way I'd sum this up, it's been a Wolves start of the season for Wolves.
Yeah, I think it is one of those scenarios where it's just pretty bang average. There's not much to go off, and obviously it's tough when you look at the first game of Man City. You were never expecting them to get a result early. You weren't looking at it and thinking, "Oh, well, they could pick up 3 points there." It was never one of those scenarios, and I think Wolves are a team that aren't overly good anyway. They're not great. They've not really brought anyone in, and I think it's the same as West Ham in a sense. I think when you look at the next few fixtures, I know they've got Everton, Newcastle, Leeds, and then Tottenham for the 4. And for me, based off how Everton played, obviously we are going to get into it, but there could be a lost Newcastle again by the 13th of September. They may have had a striker in, so things could be different for them. And Leeds, they're good. I don't think they're awful, despite the result, obviously. But then again, you're playing against Arsenal and Tottenham. I think 4 games time, they won't have fell off that bad.
No.
So I think it could be a rough start for Wolves. Obviously, anything can happen. You don't want to. It's early, like we've said time and time again. You don't want to now just go, oh, well, look at the next 10 games and not picking up a single point. He's getting sacked or going down. It's very easy to say that. That's probably not the way it's going to go.
Do you agree it was a red on Totti?
Yeah. I think it had to be.
I was denying a goal scoring opportunity under the rule book, so I suppose there was no clear and obvious red.
That's as simple as it is for me.
It just meant we made her still playing that. Well, I can't remember. Is it Keejan Hoover? He's first.
Yeah, Keejan Hoover.
I thought he would have been a Championship or League One player by now, but he's actually held his own. And a Wolves team that, I remember when Wolves had, was it Nelson Semedo they used to have at full back
Yeah,
and wings.
Semedo.
So, he's managed to hold his own in that type of team.
Yeah, and I think Wolves, I don't want to say they've suffered, but obviously you go back a few seasons, there's the likes of, they had Guedes, Neves, Martinho. They had a great team when they came up. Ivan Cavallio. Might have fumbled the name in a few years. Under Nuno. They were great, and I think they had that potential to be like Villa have done now, where they could have broke up, but it's gone downhill. And I think that's like I said earlier. The big teams come knocking. It's very hard to keep a hold of them, and you've got to invest right. And I don't think Wolves have done that. Like West Ham haven't. So
No.
obviously you're a victim of your own success, but you go and you get 2-3 good players that turn out to be key players for you. They are going to end up getting snapped up, which then means you've got to invest that money correctly and try and get to a state where you're able to keep those players. And they're less likely to, opt for a move because they believe in a journey. They believe in, we could push into the top, we could do something there. And I think you're looking at a Wolves team. They're not looking like that this season. They're looking the relegation battle. Just, at the bottom half of that table. Won't do much. Probably nick a point or two off the big teams at some point. A late winner somewhere. But for me, they just didn't look great for them. Didn't look great.
Obviously lost Matheus Cunha, your team Man United.
Yeah,
So, that doesn't help.
I think without him last season, they'd have gone down. So this season, they could definitely go down.
Aye. Bournemouth side, they look like they've got a pretty good team. I'm impressed that against Semenyo. Looks like a really good player. Tavernier getting the goal. Evan Linson looks like a decent player as well. So, they've built a pretty decent team.
Yeah, they have got a good team. Obviously, last season they did quite well. There's a point where they're in the European positions, I believe. They were up there on that table. For me, they have got a decent team, but there's also, I think, that part of it where it's like, is it good enough to consistently give them results? And I think that there's obviously some key players in there. I think Tavernier played well. They've got Alex Scott, who's quality. But then for me, it's one of those where, does Alex Scott get nicked? If he plays well this season and Bournemouth aren't overly great and he's a standout, that's that scenario where someone comes knocking. Someone comes and takes him, but they could go well. I think it's hard with those type of teams now, like Bournemouth, where they're not on the brink of the top six, but they're getting to that point where they could make a push with the right signings. A lot of the times, obviously, they never seem to make the right signings. They splash some cash, don't go right, and then they'll lose someone like Scott, and then they'll end up losing Semenyo, and then they won't invest it right, and then they'll be in a bad scenario because they've just lost Solanke as well, who realistically was their top guy.
It is interesting. You look at their bench now. You had Ryan Christie, who when he wasn't injured last season was actually getting a good few assists playing in his role. He looked decent. You've got Clivert in there, who you probably last season you expected him to be on the team sheet more often. No, then you've got Ben Gannon-Dork, who they've signed in there as well, who seems to come to Bournemouth highly rated anyway for Liverpool, and certainly our Scotland fans really rate him highly. We're buzzing to see him back. So, they've got players in there that can make a difference. And that's what I feel. I feel they're almost different to your Wolves and West Ham. I feel like they've got a bit more quality than those sort of teams to definitely push them away for relegation anyway. And, they're just the definition, in my opinion, kind of a bit mid-table. They're going to stay away for relegation, in my opinion, but I just don't know if they're quite there to push into the top six yet.
No, I don't think they are. And obviously, I think with the likes of Clivert last season, he was unbelievable. Whether that was just not one season wonder necessarily because he wasn't, out of this world. He played well, but for me, it could be one of those scenarios again where if he then this season ended up playing well again, someone else might come knocking. And that's the tough scenario being a team like Bournemouth. But I do agree. I think they have got more quality on the bench than the other teams that are kind of at that level, which is where you see Wolves potentially suffering because Hwang Yi-chan's not great. That Bueno didn't look good when he came on either. So I think I don't know how to pronounce his name. The midfielder came on, started with a T. It's like
Oh,
Chihuahua or something
I've
like
got
that.
his name here. I'm not even going to try and
He
pronounce
wasn't.
that.
He wasn't amazing for coming on off the bench. Obviously, didn't play well anyway. The team, but didn't really change much, which is what you'd like to think your substitute would do.
Aye.
Tough.
And again, I think Bournemouth just have a better starting 11 than like Wolves and West Ham and that have as well, which helps when you've got the better starting 11, but you can also bring on the subs to change a game if it's not going well. It's something that the play you into their favour.
Yeah, I think it's one of those seasons now where I just think Wolves, as I said, could be looking at that relegation side of things. I agree with you. I think Bournemouth are looking at that 14th, 14th to 10th. Don't see
Aye,
him
but
being higher than 10th.
the thing is though, that could. I mean, you never know. We might. I'm not necessarily saying it'll be Tottenham and Man United this year, but we might get two teams of similar calibre that might fall off, and it could open a wee gap up for a team like Bournemouth to maybe sneak up there.
Yeah, I think that is what happened last season, to be fair, was with the way that we played. It felt like there was more of that when, you seen your Bournemouth getting in that European spot at some points. Obviously dropped out eventually. I think it might have been, I think at some point they were top four, if I recall correctly, or maybe it was the top six, but so dropped out quite quickly and that was during the period when City had fell off. And it did give that chance, but then they're not able to keep that consistency of guaranteeing wins, whereas your City then are winning on the weekend and Bournemouth are drawing away. There's those factors into it, so it's an interesting one. I think this season though is looking just mid-table for me. I don't
Ah,
I don't think they'll break into it.
Nah, I can't see that. I can't see any, and we're going to discuss the likes of Man United in that later. I just can't see any of them having another half season like that. I think that was just such a unique season for two very big teams that I just can't see that happening again.
No, yeah, I agree. I don't. I think there was just too many issues and injuries. Speaking from the United side of things, I think there was just too many issues that had occurred and that were going on. I don't want to say that to excuse Ruben from some of the choices he's made, but obviously he came in late after already an absolute awful start. I think it was only Dogu that was brought in January, and Anthony had already gone out on loan. Rashford was out on loan. We've lost these players that they get hounded, but it can be important to have them at times. Wouldn't say that was a make it or break it. I wouldn't say having Anthony would have meant we'd have came top six, obviously, but there's just some of those scenarios where you think we just didn't have the
No,
greatest luck, and there was issues occurring around the club. New manager coming in, so I think it was just an off season for both teams. I don't know. I can't excuse Spurs, but for the United side of things, that's what I'd give as well.
no, that's fair.
Are you happy to go into Brentford Villa?
Yeah,
Yeah. So Brentford coming out on top 1-0.
aye.
Is it the GMX?
Is it the the G Tech Community
Ah,
Stadium?
the GTEC, not GMX.
Close enough.
Yeah, Brentford came out 1-0 over Villa, which was a little bit unexpected, I'd say.
Aye, I don't think Brentford. I mean, like we spoke, about Brentford losing so many key players and obviously losing the manager that I personally thought was, the sort of key to their Premier League campaign. I really did think that Frank made all the difference, and so did the players. And if that's in Nottingham Forest put free by them, I was kind of a bit worried for the season. They've now beat Villa, beat Bournemouth away 2-0. It seemed after a really, really good start. I believe that was a debut goal for Otara as well against Villa. So,
Yeah, it was.
he's got after a good start. I think, weirdly enough, it seems the same thing every game. You're speaking about how good one team is, but the other team's bad as well. Like Villa have not had a great start at all. They've been really, really flat since the season started.
Yeah, I think it's been tough for them. I think they came off, I'd say, a decent season. Obviously missed out on is it Europe or is it just Champions League?
I think it was just Champions League. I don't believe they get Europe.
Yeah, because we beat them on the last day of the season with a controversial decision, as they like to remind us. But I do think this is that scenario again, as you say, where no one on the Villa side. I'd say, to be honest, I think Tillman's was good. Tillman's and Mings, for me, were probably the best of the rest.
Aye,
Obviously, but it's like, and I think it's most games, to be fair, when one team wins and the other team loses. The winning team played good. The losing team didn't play great. And I think the only exception is probably
Monday.
getting into the Liverpool, yeah.
Aye,
But for this, I just think Brentford played well. So Damsgaard is, I think, quality, and I think he'll be very important for Brentford this season. And I think Kelleher played well,
aye.
considering.
I mean, look, they've got some interesting characters in there. Jordan Henderson in the midfield is something I didn't think I'd be seeing 2025 anyway in the Premier League.
No,
But I think Brentford, adding that bit of experience. I'm not going to pretend I know everything about the manager Keith Andrews. I don't know too much about him, but it seems like he's built a pretty decent team that I think might surprise people. I think a lot of people did think Brentford would maybe fall apart when the team started crumbling. They were losing certain players, and were they going to replace them properly? But it looks like a decent team they've built. So I think they might be my anyway kind of surprise package of the season.
yeah, I think they could be. Obviously, just lost Mbeumo, which is a big loss for them, obviously. And I don't. Weiss has not gone, has he? They've still got Weiss.
No, I do believe I've still got Visa. I
Yeah,
mean,
so it's
the thing is though that you look at that bench, they've got Carvalho, Rico Henry, Aaron Hickey, you've got Onyeka there, and Christopher Ayer as well. It's not like that squad's not getting any quality. I think it is just a case of they lost I'd say anyway, in my opinion, the biggest parts of the team, which, it's always hard to replace the big hitters when they leave. So, I can understand why a lot of people were maybe wary about how their season would go, but they've still got a lot of quality in there.
yeah, there's still shining stars there in the team that I think now maybe Mbeumo's going might get appreciated more. I think Utada is a good replacement. I think he's a quality player. Played well at Bournemouth last season. So it's interesting. Is a good word, I think. It'll be interesting to see which way it goes from this season because I think the Brentford side is ready. They could make that big push and try and go for that top eight, try and get into a conference spot, or it could just be a mediocre mid-table run. They have got quality on the bench. There's still moves to be made. Obviously, I don't think Weiss was included on the team sheet at all. I
No,
don't know if he's injured, so he could still be leaving, still be going to Newcastle or just out the door. So it'll be interesting to see if they do bring anyone in. But the only thing I'd say for Brentford, they seem to lack a striker. So that Thiago was playing, but it felt like they were missing a striker watching the game.
aye, proper number 9, of course. I've obviously seen a lot of links up here that Diza Maeda, the Celtic, might be moving down to Brentford. That's the man that they seemingly want to take. Don't know. I don't think that's a number 9 that they should risk on. I don't know if you've seen in the highlights of last night, but Maeda effectively costing Celtic £40 million. It doesn't help his matter. And I just don't think I personally just don't think he's Premier League quality, to be honest with you. So I don't think it's somebody that should take the risk. I think they should maybe go out and find a more traditional number 9.
Yeah, obviously, I think you're a lot more experienced than me. Speaking like a Celtic player in that scenario, I think they do need a 9 in, and they know that, which is why they've gone for Maeda. But based off what you've said, maybe that's not the right choice.
Oh, he's missed about 4 one-on-one chances now, which, if you want to play striker, which my head is no, by the way, he's not a number 9, he's a winger, but, I think Brentford and Celtic would opt to play him in at that number 9 role. If you're going to have a number 9 that's going to get himself into one-on-one chances, you need to score them well and you miss them, and I just think my head misses too much, so I think they'll probably look for, I don't want to be disrespectful, but maybe a better number 9, and that's no disrespect to Maida. I think he's got his qualities out wide. I just don't think in the Premier League he'd be able to cut it. I don't think he'd be able to score enough goals for Brentford, that they're maybe looking for. So I wouldn't surprise me if they looked elsewhere.
Yeah, it could happen. Speaking more on the Villa front, they've got an interesting run of games, I think, coming up. They've got Palace, Everton, Sunderland, and Fulham as the next 4.
And then Burnley.
Yeah, that's the 5. And Spurs,
And then
City,
Liverpool.
Liverpool.
What a run!
Those first 5 games need to, I think, play well.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think they're interesting because obviously based off how they played, the Palace game, I wouldn't be overly confident saying Villa could win. Again, you jump in some of these though. You jump in 4 weeks to look at Villa, Fulham, and say Fulham might nick a result. 4 weeks time, Villa could be up and running.
Well, that's the problem. I said they were at a poor start of the season. They played 2 games. They got a good draw at home to Newcastle when they went a man down, and then they lost to Brentford. So if I'm being fair, it's not been the worst start in the world. It's a point against Newcastle is a point gained in my opinion. But going away to Brentford when, and maybe that's people underestimating Brentford. Maybe that's people overestimating Villa, because a lot of people went there and said, "Oh, Villa should go and win that comfortably against a Brentford team that have maybe not replaced as well as people maybe would have thought before the game." But they sort of stunned everybody, and I think that just shows how good the Premier League is. Just when you think a team's maybe not as strong as it used to be, they go and hit out with a pretty big win against. Let's be honest, it's a Villa team that is full of quality. They've got a lot of good players in there. All the other pitch as well. That's what I like about Villa. I think they're very well balanced. But it's just not been maybe the start they would have wanted.
Yeah, I think that is the scenario. That is just not the ideal start, and this happens. Just didn't get a result. I think it's not one of those though where you say that's the season over. They're going to play awful. They're going to struggle. The issue with this scenario, I think, for us as well, looking at it from the outside, is just how early it is in the season, how things can change. But I think it's good for Brentford. It's a good 3 points to pick up, and Villa will certainly be looking to bounce back against Palace on Sunday.
Which, by the way, I think will be a pretty good game, by the way. There's a lot of interesting fixtures coming up for teams. Obviously, Brentford travel away to Sunderland next. Be interesting to see how Sunderland bounce back. Then they've got Chelsea, Fulham, and Man United and Man City. So it gets tough for both of these teams in the upcoming fixtures.
It does. I think the Premier League, there's no easy game.
No. Never.
There's no easy game, is there really? So
unless you're Man City and it's like Burnley at home or something.
Unless it's half-12.
Well, I never bat the early kicker.
Never bat the early kick-off, but are you content to move into the next game?
Yeah.
Which takes us to Turf Moor, is what has been potentially regarded as the worst team in Premier League history. Just on paper. Defeat Sunderland 2-0 with a good start. But as we've said, it is early. These things can happen where Sunderland play well, and the next thing you know, they've been outplayed at Turf Moor.
Yeah, and by the way, you've got to give credit to 2 big players for Burnley, Cullen and Anthony. I know you were saying earlier, maybe Anthony doesn't quite match Premier League quality, you'd say, but they're both in this game anyway linked up very, very well for both goals. I thought Burnley done well. Sunderland, in my opinion, started off in the better foot. They had a couple of chances, I think, inside the first sort of 10-15 minutes to get themselves ahead. I can't remember who it was. There was a really good ball put in for the right-hand side, and I think it was Mayenda Dinga that was on the end of it, and it was just no hit right enough, no enough power in it to go in the back of net. It's a chance that looking back they probably should take. But Burnley just sort of grew into the game a wee bit more. I was obviously watching. This was the game that bust my 5T marker early weekend, so it was an interesting watch. But I know I thought Burnley deserved it early in, to be honest.
Yeah, I would say they deserved it as much as Stockdale. I don't think it's the best quality side. However, in this scenario, I guess that didn't matter. They do with a better team on the day, and they'll be hoping for those results a few times because I have got Burnley to go down. So it's one of them for me. I think Ekdal, centre half, played well. Didn't seem to make any mistakes. He was looking solid, and if you're a team like Burnley, that's what you're going to want in your centre half, innit? You're going to want someone that is solid, they're not making mistakes, because you're going to have a few tough games in the next 36.
Aye, and then a player that I just felt completely oblivious to Kyne before I watched the game. I turned it on reading the team sheet, and where you look twice and you go, Kyle Walker, is that, is he got a twin brother or something? You look at it twice and sort of go, is that right, playing for Burnley? I just completely forgot it happened, but I don't think he made too much of a difference, to be honest, although I do think if you're looking for a Premier League really good experience right back, then he probably is your guy.
Yeah, I think he's got the experience, obviously. He can bring that into the team, but he was shit last season, and that's why Peps got let him go. And in these scenarios, that's Burnley's gain potentially. Maybe is that quality enough to fit in Burnley and enhance that right-hand side of the fence, but see where it goes. Obviously, I think Burnley were all right. They weren't out of the world. Obviously, the next game is Man United at Old Trafford, and then I believe they do play Liverpool, Forest, and City, and also Villa in that. So the next 4 or 5 games, very tough. I do think they'll take a point at Old Trafford.
Nah, see, you're just such an unoptimistic Man United fan, Ken.
Well, welcome to being a United fan, mate.
I can't see, but like Burnley, just that game. You're right. It didn't have any quality in it. There wasn't any outstanding support. Wasn't I think you might have dropped something there.
The phone went. The phone went.
There wasn't any, Peps tiki taka, versus another mental team. It was just two teams that have both came up, both needing 3 points. Because they need to take all the 3 points they can get. It's going to be a tough season for both teams, in my opinion. So the Burnley to go out and get the 2 goals, showing a bit of quality when needed, makes all the difference.
Yeah, okay, that phone's not going to work for me. That's one. Yeah, those are the scenarios I think where they need to pick up the points, and they have done, because I do think they are probably contenders to go down. But just even looking at the fixture list here, there's that run of 5 games, which is tough, and then they've got Leeds that won't be a pushover, and then you go Wolves, Arsenal, West Ham, Chelsea.
Yeah, I genuinely could see, and I know this sounds a bit unoptimistic after Burnley have just won the last 2 games. They might go that whole fixture card without picking up a point. They genuinely could.
Looking at it, I don't disagree. I think looking at it just on paper, right?
Aye.
And this is without factoring how football can be. From the 30th of August, I mean, I'm not trying to slate them, right, because they won, but I'm looking at like your Brentford, and you go, Brentford should beat them, and then you get to Fulham, and you think, I can see Fulham beating them.
But then you've just got you've got a Burnley v Palace, right, 3rd of December. It's an 8 o'clock kick-off. I'm going to assume that's like a Monday or Friday night game.
So it's a Wednesday.
That can just be brutal. Like Burnley could just nick a 1-0.
Yeah, I think looking and factoring in that Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, fucking horrible cold, probably pissing it down in it. They've lost Eze. They probably they'll still have Mateta, I reckon, but losing Eze is a key factor for them. That could be those games where they do pick up points, but on paper, you look at it, and there's not a game I see them winning.
No, there isn't.
Which is obviously, isn't going to be the case. They are probably going to win a game, I'd hope,
Aye.
from August to 24th of May 2026.
I mean, the next one you're realistically looking at them winning is Leeds at home. That's the next game where you can properly look at it and go, right, if you're going to pick up points anywhere in this picture card, it's going to be that game.
I think looking at the only they've not got an early kickoff, so I do feel bad for them.
Aye.
They're the games that they'd be winning.
I mean, a 2:00 at home to Liverpool is just weird. Like that is just a really weird kickoff time.
Yeah, they've got 1 8 o'clock game at Burnley on the midday.
Aye,
Maybe that Palace game's the first game they pick up points.
We could say that. We genuinely could say this, but they could go and pick up 2 points at the next 2 games and make Man United and Liverpool drop to.
Or they could even draw United, lose Liverpool, beat Forest.
Aye, they could. We're just speaking, let's be honest, we're speaking the classic team that come up for the Championship facts here, that they'll lose a lot of these games.
Yeah, well, you look at it and you look on paper like they have done, and you go, they'll lose. They won't beat West Ham. They're going to lose to Brentford. Newcastle will beat them. But then you do that, and next thing you know, the fixture list has started fresh again. And you go, United. Oh, no. Oh, Burnley play United at Turf Moor, 7th of January, 8 p.m. That is.
But
it's fucking Wednesday as well. United are getting beat. They're getting beat.
But the thing is, right, you're looking at West Ham away, and I know for teams like Burnley, and I know West Ham should be taking care of the business, but if West Ham keep up the way they've started, and Burnley start picking up a few points here and there, say the day Nick a draw at Old Trafford or the day beat Nottingham Forest, you'd have Burnley on to go away to West Ham and go and pick up a point at least.
Yeah, I could see it. It's interesting, but then we'll flip to the losing side of that game. And their upcoming matches. Obviously, they've got Brentford next at the Stadium. Alright, could I don't want to turn away from it now and give them a benefit of the doubt because they came up and they seem to have found better players than Burnley. But they just seem to play well the first game.
Is it just me though, or the Sunderland seem to be getting a bit overhyped? No, I don't disagree. I think they've made better signings than the likes of Burnley have made, and I think they've gave themselves a bit more of a chance. But for me, that team just doesn't scream that it can stay up. In my opinion, that still looked to me like a team that will struggle this season a lot.
Well, I think for me, some of the keys for Sunderland, I'd probably say, is bringing in Mukulele from PSG. That's probably a very important signing for that back line. Obviously, San Masaku. That big Arthur. They brought in
obviously Xhaka.
I want to say on loan, Mark Guay from Chelsea. Xhaka came in. Adingra came in. The Club Brugge man, Talby, came in. I don't want to speak on him because I don't have a Scooby Doo. Ronaldo came in as well. So for me, I just think this could be good for them. I've got faith that they will end up staying up. But it could be that scenario, like you say, where it is overhyped because they've signed a few players. They've signed Xhaka, that's big named. That they played well last season because they spent a lot of money. Maybe they are overhyped and it's going to be exposed.
I mean, all we can do is find it and wait, but that fixture list isn't very kind to Sunderland either. Brentford, Palace, Villa, Nottingham Forest and Man United. I mean, it's not an easy fixture list, and you take into account that away to Palace and Nottingham Forest and Man United as well, it's even tougher. But I suppose you're looking at the next 2 home games then, home to Brentford and home to Villa. Like we said with Burnley, if you're going to pick up any points, it's going to be at home against, Brentford. Again, we spoke about them a minute ago. They look all right. Villa, they don't look particularly good right now. So, Sunderland could start picking up a few points. Obviously, they went out the cup last night to Huddersfield on penalties. So, that's taking a bit of a momentum hit. But if they're going to bounce back, it's going to be at home to Brentford.
Yeah, and I think, obviously, I don't want to go too far in advance, but there's a fixture here that sticks out to me where I can see him picking up 3 points. And it's Tuesday, the 30th of December. play Man City at
Oh,
8
aye.
PM at the stadium in Lion, and I can just see a Granit Xhaka crunching on Ireland, a few elbows tossed about, and Sunderland nicking a 1-0.
You're the worst Paz though. You look at that month as a whole, right? The whole of December, you take it in blocks. They're away to Liverpool, then away to City, and then Newcastle at home. I mean, that is brutal.
And then you get a break. You get Brighton and Leeds,
Aye.
just to then play City, Tottenham again.
That has a terrible fixture list, man.
I think, to be fair, the worst one was it Burnley?
Aye.
Yeah, Burnley. I think has got one of the worst ones I've seen yet. For
Aye,
the sake
Burnley.
of the team as well, given the fact that they're fresh.
Aye, Burnley have got it tough. I mean, that's probably a tough fixture list for like Liverpool or Arsenal or Tottenham. Never mind Burnley.
Yeah, going United, Liverpool, Forest, City, Villa. It's not what you want as a fucking the champions. So it's certainly not what you want when your hopes are staying up. I'd like to think, even if they don't pick up a point, the manager stays in the job.
Aye, you don't see
Because
that enough.
it's one of those where I do just think that maybe Scott Parker needs to be trusted, because those scenarios, is there much you can do? You have to be realistic? I think you can't look at it and go, oh, we've not won in 5 games, but you've just played some of the best teams in the league.
No.
It's tough.
Very. You do want to see managers staying the job longer, but it's something that just doesn't happen very often. You look at probably the most recent one in terms of someone big signing a job, Ruben Amorim at Man United, under so much pressure. Fans want him sacked now, but Man United kept him in, let him have his transfers, and we'll just need to see how that one goes as well.
Yeah, obviously we'll get into it, but if you're happy to move past onto the final game of Saturday, this for me is probably one where it kind of fits the bill if you're saying about trusting the manager at times, because they're in phase 7 now or something stupid. We go to the Emirates for Arsenal's 5-0 victory over Leeds United.
Aye.
One of the key things about this match for me isn't anything to do with the goals. It's Bukayo Saka being injured.
Aye, missing the Liverpool game.
Yeah.
Know what you want if you're Arsenal.
No, it's not ideal for them, is it? Especially when they're trying to go for that league.
Aye, and look, we spoke about teams having hard starts. Leeds have had it rough. I mean, not just the Arsenal game, but playing Everton on the opening home game for Everton at the new stadium. The fans were right up for it. That was never going to be an easy task either. Obviously, yesterday probably a bit disappointing losing to Sheffield Wednesday, and the cup probably know what they wanted, but I do, in my opinion, kind of fear for Leeds. I just don't. I don't get that same feeling today when I look at Sunderland. I don't get that feeling that they could die up, and I suppose Leeds probably have the best chance because I think Leeds they have the better quality, but I just have a feeling this is going to be a really tough season for them.
Yeah, for me it is just. It's hard. I think it's very hard for those teams because it's easy to watch 2 or 3 games and call it the end. And say oh, they're not staying up. They've got a good team. However, I think we spoke about, I think the night when Football Manager Justin Safe was about like the likes of Rafinha, and I think it does filter back to what I've said previously is those teams do suffer because they sign quality players who obviously turn out to be top quality, and then they lose them. And obviously Leeds invested. They got Ruter, they got Willie, to Archie Gray came in the door, obviously, but. I think it is very, very hard to stay up in the Premier League.
Aye,
without spending a lot of money. But sometimes it backfires. Sometimes I don't know. It was a few seasons ago. Someone came up and spent like 110 mil, 150, brought in about 12 players, changed their entire team, and I don't know if they went straight back down and if they just about survived. But they were awful, and that's because You can't just go and buy an entire team and expect it to work and link up. But then you're a bit fucked because you have to sign players, but you can't sign too many because you need your team chemistry to stay there and to play as a team.
Aye.
So it's very hard. It's very difficult, and I do feel bad for. So I'm a bit fortunate, I'm a United fan, because sometimes I do feel bad for those teams that that are classed as yo-yo clubs, because the only trophies they'll probably win is that playoffs or the championship, which I know. Obviously, as a football fan and been salted many times, it's still enjoyable. You still
Aye.
love it. You've still got the passion, but I know that there is probably that part of you which is a bit depressing. You know what I mean? You're never in contention for the Prem. You're never in Europe. You just up, down, struggle, up, struggle, down.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
not
sure
ideal.
Burnley fans are already probably looking at next season and going, right, are we going to win the championship next year? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And of course, that's not the way the players, manager, board, or anybody else running the club's going to look at it. Of course, they're going to look at it as, we want to stay up this year, we want to do well. But you just know every fan has one eye on it and going, right, next season, we'll need to bounce back, try and get back up, win the championship, and try and just continue that momentum, because it is so hard. Let's be honest, Ken, it's even harder than Football Manager to try and stay up. It's no easy. You need to put a lot of money into transfers, and I think on FM that's where the difference is. In real life, you kind of splash about 120 million on 14 players and expect it to work. Whereas on FM, you can spend the money and bring in the quality. But I fear for the teams that come up all the time, because you just always look at Ipswich, for example. Actually, go one step further. Look at who's the team that just faced double relegation? I can't remember their name.
Oh.
What's their name? Hold on, I need to go and find this in League One.
I know what you mean, but it's.
Luton. Look at Luton. Luton came up into the Premier League. They looked like they were always. I felt they were always going to go down, but you felt like they were maybe going to be balancing in the Championship to try and come back up, and they've just completely fell apart now.
Yeah. It happens, unfortunately.
Aye.
And I think that's the sad part of football.
Oh. Aye. I mean, in terms of the game, you look at Leeds, and one goal in particular, I mean, that Saka goal where he just hits it straight at the top of Perry's, I think his name is, and goes. I mean, I wasn't his best efforts. I know Saka had to be a lot of power for a tight angle. But I feel the keeper's got to be doing better with ones like that. It's bad enough going to the Emirates when you've got so much pressure on you for the fans, and Arsenal are a really quality team now. They've got that number 9 that they've maybe been missing. But I don't think the defence and certainly goalkeeper probably helped themselves in the game, to be honest.
No, it's tough. Go to the Emirates. It's going to be loud. Arsenal play the quality team. He didn't help himself. I think Goodmanson, he is left back, was absolutely awful. But I think for me, something that stuck out more than Arsenal side of things is how good they were. But for those 40 odd minutes, I think he was on the pitch. Odegaard, he just didn't. And I know he's a quality player. I know he's got the talent and the ability. But I think we spoke about the captain's armband on him. I think it is too much for him. I think Odegaard should not be the captain of Arsenal. I think it's too much on him, and it kind of makes him a bit more disciplined. And I think he would be best if he had that expression, if he had a bit more freedom, a bit more control, roamed himself a bit, got on the ball, took that risk, because he is a top quality player. I think he's one of the best midfielders in the world. So for me, I think he just that bit of pressure, if he's taken off his shoulders in a scenario when they probably know the fans are backing him to win the league after coming up short of 3 years in a row now. They'd lost on final day of the season prior, whatever. So for me, I think take that captaincy off him, let him recover from his injury, come back captain free, and I think because if he's playing quality and he's not got that stress on him, that could probably push him to win the league, to have that creativity, to have that midfielder there.
So who do you think you give it to? Do you think it will be Gabriel Saliba? Do you think would be better suited to the captain role?
I'd say Saliba, maybe with ice, but even again, it is. I think we spoke about it the other day. It's so hard to fathom the idea of having to be the captain for a Premier League team because what seems like it's too much on Odegaard, so we'll just stick it on Saliba. We don't know Saliba. We don't know how he is. That could break him, and he could end up playing like Phil Jones. So it's that scenario. I think if I look at it, I think for me, maybe it's Zubimendi. I know he's only just been there. He's only just arrived, but he's Spanish. He's probably hot-headed, like you said, Sergio Ramos. That's going to fire you up. I can envision him in a scenario where Gabriel gets a last tackle in, clears the ball, and Zubimendi goes over and grabs his shirt, and he gets him, going up for the game and keeping him going. That for me is what you want in a captain. When you look at like what Ramos would do, he'd run across half the pitch to go and congratulate someone on a cross. Like, he was a proper captain, and I think that's maybe what they need because Odegaard just doesn't come across as that leader type for me. That if you're going into battle, you're looking side by side, you're about to go to war on that pitch. Is Odegaard the man you want leading that line? I don't know if he is.
No, that's a fair point. As I mean, like a very boring option, and one that doesn't happen often. Goalkeepers don't. They get made captain sometimes. Doesn't happen as often as an outfield player because I just don't think keepers get as involved. In maybe big moments as you mentioned when they need to. But if Arsenal are really on the last resort, and you need to fix Odegaard and you've not got any other outfield players that want to take on the role, just put it on David Raya. Why not? It's a pretty safe and secure option.
Yeah, I think obviously the thing for me, I think for me the best captain spot really is your midfielder.
Aye.
That is what you want because the slap bang in the middle, they can shout at the back line, shout at the front line. You're sorted. I think centre back's also a good shout, obviously, because you can get absolute psychos. You get hard punts like your Ramoses, your Ferdinand, the ones that are up for it. Vincent Kompany, even one of the best captains. But I think with this Arsenal team, even looking at, I wouldn't say Saliba or Gabriel's that guy in that sense.
Am I right in saying Declan Rice held it at West Ham?
I believe he did.
I wonder why then he wouldn't be automatically captain. You think maybe that because I think Declan Rice would be able to take the responsibility on well.
Yeah, I think
obviously, again, we don't know him, but it just seems like
I think he does seem like that player that is, your midfielder is crucial to the team. He's like the glue. I could see it. I'm not sure why they opted for Odegaard, but again, you don't know what happens at training in the locker room. Maybe Odegaard's shouty. Maybe Odegaard does get him up for the game.
No.
We don't know what we can't see, but obviously, Gyökeres picking up 2 goals, a penalty, which I think was a bit. The thing that irked me a bit was he didn't give the penalty to that Max Dowman.
And by the way, should give credit him. I mean, a 15-year-old stepping on the Premier League pitch, it even makes us two feel old, doesn't it? I mean, that is mental to see, but I thought he would have gave it to Dowman, to be honest with you.
I think he wanted to make a goal so he could hit his little.
And by the way, though, Dowman's been getting some amount of diving comments off of fans. He's been getting a lot, but I mean, I've seen some really bad comments, and I'm just saying, like, he's a young guy. He's 15. He's not even hit 16 yet. He's not even a legal age to buy a pint. So just lay off the guy a wee bit. You know what I mean?
Can't be worse than Mark Richards' dive. I think it was. I think Gyökeres might have been that scenario. Just maybe not to break down mentally. If you take that penalty 4-0 up and you fuck it up,
aye,
probably weighs a bit heavy on your shoulders, doesn't it? And it gives Gyökeres probably that confidence boost because he was shit.
Aye, and by the way, we don't know. By the way, Dowman might have said, "Gyökeres, you just go and take it." You know what I mean?
Yeah, he might have said, "Fuck that! I don't want to do that."
No, and by the way, we should speak about Gyökeres. It was very interesting. I know you've had some comments after, on a party with me and other people. You said some things. He had a very quiet first half against Leeds. Again, he didn't do much at all. and then he gets the goal, and it's actually a pretty decent goal. He picks the ball up in a nice area, strikes the ball well, cuts in. What have you made of Gyökeres so far?
I think in the opening game he was poor, and that's not in a sense of I'm salty he didn't come to United. It's in a sense of I wanted him to come United. All right, he's gone to another Prem team. It's an arguable better team. Let's see what he does. And he was poor. The first game he was poor. That like I don't want to be over exaggerated, but he was just really bad. Like there was nothing. He looked slow. He just did not the touches
And
were awful. The
by
passing
the way,
was bad.
I should say it does take players time to adjust to this league. It's not as easy as coming in
No,
and making
yeah,
additions. Well, you look at Florian Wirtz at Liverpool; he's had a really slow start to life in the Premier League as well.
yeah, it's not been great. But for me, I mean, there was even one of the shots in that game where he just proper flung it wide as well, which wasn't great. But obviously, second half went better for him. Got the penalty. And his goal was nice. I'm not going to deny it. It's not 'cause I hate him. I do think that first game he was poor, and he's a quality player from what we've seen in Liga NOS, the Portuguese side of things. So if he can transfer that to Arsenal, they've got a lethal striker on their hand.
Aye, they do indeed. I mean, there's not much else you can say rather. It was just a really comfortable afternoon for Arsenal. They did just dominate the game, as you'd expect at the Emirates. A really good team. I mean, as a team, kind of my opinion, it could compete for the Premier League move. I think they have found that number 9, and look, it's too early to judge. We'll need to see how the next, sort of 6 or 7 games go before we really start properly judging a player. Arsenal, obviously, big game next away at Liverpool. They'll be without Bukayo Saka. I believe they're still waiting to hear back about Odegaard, but I do think he's more likely to get into the game. So, I mean, how do you see Arsenal's next couple of fixtures going? Because it's Liverpool, Forest, and then Man City.
It's tough. It's those ones, I think, where Arsenal, Liverpool, and Arsenal City can go either way on the day. I think those games just comes down to who's up for it more on that day. Who's going to push a bit more? Who's going to do that a bit extra? Who's going to run the extra yard? Who's going to stretch the leg out that extra inch to get there? How much are you going to put on the line? With those, I could see him drawing with City. I could see him beating Liverpool. I think this might be Arsenal's year, unfortunately. Obviously, I still want it to be Liverpool. I just don't want them to get to anyone.
Obviously, I think Arsenal carry a bit of better momentum and a bit of better form than Liverpool have been playing anyway. We'll obviously get to speak about Liverpool on a Monday night soon, but they just looked a bit more flat. They look like they're ready for a team to capitalise on them and really give Liverpool a hammering, which Liverpool don't get hammered often, but it really does feel like if a team, and no disrespect to Newcastle, but a team with a bit better quality like an Arsenal or Man City step up in their game, they really could give Liverpool a few goals.
Yeah, and that's the way that I think it probably will end up going, because obviously we'll talk about it more shortly, but Canati. And there was some scenarios where I think Newcastle didn't capitalise, or didn't have a number 9. Gordon, obviously we're going to get into it, so I don't want to analyse that game too much yet and then get to the Newcastle game and repeat what I've already said. But for me, I think they play similar to the way they played against Newcastle. Arsenal could take the 3 points.
Aye, they could. Aye.
Obviously, and it's just Leeds, which it's going to be tough for them, I think.
Fulham, Wolves, Newcastle, Fulham, Wolves, Bournemouth.
They're not easy. There's no easy games. There's no easy games when you came up, and I don't think there's any easy games for anyone bar City.
Let's be honest, the first team I've looked at in a wee while that don't have Man City, Liverpool or Arsenal coming up.
Yeah, so that could give them.
Newcastle is obviously still trickier, but they don't play any of the really top dogs.
No, there's nothing there that really stands out as a big game. They're playing someone who's miles clear of them. Newcastle, arguably, the likes of Bruno Guimaraes. Whatnot, but I think Gordon will miss that game, won't he?
Aye, suspension. Aye. So that'll be a big miss for Newcastle when we're going to talk about them a bit later on.
Yeah, I think you're happy to move into the Sunday.
I'm aware we've been going for another 40 minutes now, so
Yeah, so I was just saying. Obviously, maybe in future we try and look at certain points pre in advance
aye.
because I reckon it's going for well over 2 hours at this rate. But obviously we had a Selhurst Park, Palace 1, Forest 1. Did watch this game? Don't know if you did.
Team bits. Obviously, I was at another football game on the Sunday morning, so
Yeah, minute,
I didn't
yeah.
see much. But
Honestly, it was quite an entertaining game. It's quite back and forth. I thought. I think both sides did play well. Chris Wood wasn't great on the Forest side of things. Hudson-Odoi looked good. And Doy, the right midfielder, right winger, I thought stood out for me as one of the players that shined a lot. Maybe it is Shun. That Sangare wasn't great.
aye.
Shown, yeah. Morgan Gibbs, right. Not like Morgan Gibbs, shite.
I'm
he
so
wasn't good.
disappointed. I had this guy in my fantasy team, man. I was
Yeah.
batting him to score, and he dropped a hook, line, and stinker, as you
Nah,
would say.
he was really bad. He was hook, line, and stinkered, right? Right, it was a proper bad one. You all right?
I fly through into my.
Oh, I was watching you just
I was like,
another mad one.
really nice goal for Palace, by the way. I did see the goals. A really good ball into the box, good to pick out Saar. And by the way, don't take anything away for that finish. It looked simple when you see it, but the ball's coming at him depending on a weird angle for his point of view. He needs to try and get it past the goalkeeper. Sends the goalkeeper probably the way the keeper least expects him to go. I think he probably thinks he's going to hit it to his left across. But he goes backward, back towards him, and it catches the keeper out cold.
Well, yeah, and so I don't know obviously what the highlights and whatnot was like, but Palace were doing that quite a lot, getting the ball into the box, and I recall the opening, I'd say 10, 15, 20 minutes even, was a lot of Palace with those attacks where they were creating big chances. They were getting it into the box, and Mateta wasn't great. And I think these are the games then when you go and look at people that were saying, I should go and sign him Arsenal. So he's not that great. He had a good season, but in these scenarios when that ball's being put on a plate to him in the box, wasn't at the level enough really for me to say he deserves that move to a big team.
And look,
He's fumbling now.
It's very different circumstances. We're talking about Palace here. They're the only team in the Premier League that we're talking about playing Thursday football already. They're already playing Thursday, Sunday football. So that'll obviously be taking a bit of a bearing on them as well. Obviously, they travel to Fredrikstad, Poland on Thursday tomorrow for their second leg. So it'll take a bit out of them getting into their next game. But Palace, the defence don't get opened up too often. But the one thing you see with Nottingham Forest goal is it just gets completely opened up so easily. One pass put them open. A really decent finish as well. And I Ken, you obviously watched the full game, but for what I've seen, I'd probably say a draw was a fair result come the end of the game.
Yeah, I'd say it was coming to the end. I think, obviously, like I said, the opening 20 minutes, Palace could have gone 2-3 up. Didn't capitalise on the chances, and then you get past that, and it becomes a more even game, and Forest get more into it. End of the day, I think it was a 1-1. Looking at it, was a very fair result and an outcome of the game. That's how it felt watching it. Really, overall, that 90 minutes was a solid. It's a 1-1. That's a valid scoreline, really, to witness. Honestly, I think it's worse more. I'd say more for the likes of Forest, but I think they made some good signings. I think obviously the next game's against West Ham, I believe, 2 o'clock on Sunday. Obviously Forest have brought in Douglas Luiz, James McAtee from City, and Hardy Hutchinson. Also that Dan Endoy, who I thought was quality. So obviously that's important that he's already playing well if they've brought him in. And then I've checked the next. So they play West Ham Sunday, then not even the following Saturday. That's the Saturday after. It's Arsenal at 12:30 at the Emirates.
Aye, the early
which
kickoff.
as a gambling man, I'm putting a tenner on for it.
Really?
Yeah, 12:30.
I think you need to wait to see how Arsenal got
Or
on
you
against
go.
them.
To be fair, I'd probably go Forest or draw. To the odds might be a 3-1.
I just think you need to see how Arsenal got on against Liverpool. I think that will.
It's early kick-off, man. Forest were the team that won me 110 quid. 12:30 versus Liverpool at Anfield, I think it
Aye,
was. And my dad was
aye.
going, cash out. Liverpool are going to score, cash out. I went, no, fuck it. You never cash out, that's the rule. If you
Palace
don't.
obviously get Fredrikstad on the Thursday, but Villa away at 7 o'clock on a Sunday. It's a bit of a risky kick-off time as well.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but they're even in October. Forest have an 12 kick-off against Chelsea.
You're going to stick a tenner on that.
Yeah, Forest might be my 12 team, judging by these. They're
They've
the only
got.
ones.
Oh, listen to this, by the way. 3rd of December, 8 o'clock kick-off, Wolves v Nottingham Forest.
Ooh,
What a game.
that's going to be interesting.
Speak to me about Palace's midfield then. Obviously, you watched the game. One player that I seen's getting a bit of credits. I seen him putting a couple of good crosses. Will Hughes has kind of found his spot at Palace. A player that I've always sort of known off a career mode, and Ultimate Team has always sort of been a legend in my eyes. But he has sort of found his way into a bit of form at Palace.
Yeah, I thought he played well, to be honest. I wouldn't label it outstanding or like the
Aye,
start of the match that made me kind of go, Canelli's good. But he was just quality. Like, he played good. There's times he was creating chances. He was getting into the pocket to space. He was creating chances, giving Palace then that opportunity to, like an assist to an assist. He'd create the chance that creates the chance. Yeah, he'd find that pass that then moves them forward into that possession to potentially get the goal, which obviously didn't work out in some scenarios. But for me, he played great. I thought he was quality. Even Wharton as well. Adam Wharton played well
that's what I mean.
alongside him. Obviously, he was. They've got it's a good midfield pairing. For
Well,
me,
that's
looking
what
at
I mean.
those two in that central side.
If you're going to pair Hughes or Wharton up with somebody, they probably link up better with each other. That's probably the best pairing you could ask for. They're two different players, but they're two quality players. So Palace have got themselves a good team. Do you think they can win the Conference League? Do you think they've got that quality to go and do that?
If Mateta's on form, probably. Who's in the Conference League?
Do we have a look?
Let's have a look. Obviously, they've got Fredrikstad.
Aye, obviously we need to wait until the rest of the qualifiers are done. There's still a few being played. Well, we're still need to wait in Palace's qualifier being done.
Yeah.
No, there's still a second leg. They'll only one goal up. I think they will be fine. I think that maybe was just first European game nails.
Well, Fredriksson have lost the last 3 matches, and they've not scored in the last 2.
All right, well,
However,
that was
those
the
3
story.
matches were losing to FC Midtjylland twice in Europa League qualifiers. Yeah, they lost in Europa League qualifiers and now they're losing in Conference League qualifiers.
Aye. I'm just trying to find the current pot in the Conference League.
The thing is, you never know, because I'm seeing Palace only 1-0 up going to Frederick, wherever it is.
Poland.
Yeah, the flag looked Polish, but I didn't want to.
They have some good fans. That Fredrikstad, they're very passionate fans, if you can imagine, most like Polish, Serbian, that sort of region. They all have really good fans, really passionate fans. So I think there will be a good atmosphere there. I think it's how Palace deal with that. And this is the first ever away day in Europe, so they've of course been nerves for Palace, but they should have enough to overcome it.
Yeah, I think it could definitely go well for them. I think it'll be interesting to see if they do end up going on to become victorious, lift some gold, get in the Europa League, which they should have been in the first place.
Aye.
But I think my favourite part about that game, to be honest with you, was the chants from the Palace fans.
Aye.
I can't pronounce his name right. It's going to get horribly stinky. The Forest owner. the large Greek bloke.
Oh, aye.
He was getting absolutely
Yeah. No
pelters,
wonder,
mate.
but
And you see the massive flag they had as well.
aye, but see the fact they're actually debating on sacking Nuno, it is mind-boggling to me. Absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is. To be honest, I think I get why people hate him. You look at that Morgan Gibbs White situation. Fabrizio goes, here we go, going Spurs. A day later, Morgan Gibbs White signs a new contract at Nottingham Forest. And there was the sign. I don't know. I think it might have been that game. There's a flag that was him holding Morgan Gibbs White hostage
Aye.
and said, no one's being forced to play here.
Can
I
you?
think, obviously, if you're a Palace fan, you would be fuming. You
Aye.
would be. But then again, maybe it works out better for them. Could go and end up
Mm.
winning this because I don't know if they'd have won the Europa League.
Aye. But do you think, see, on Nottingham Forest, how annoyed would you be if you were a Nottingham Forest fan? Could you imagine? The Glazers are already bad enough, right? But could you imagine if they let a win or a draw or a loss, the Glazers came onto the pitch and started balling at Ruben Amorim live in front of like 50,000 Man United fans?
They'd have to come to a game for that to happen. It's mind-boggling to be. It's ridiculous, and he's not even doing a bad job. He wasn't doing a bad job. It
No.
was just ridiculous for me. I think it's silly. It is just really, really silly. So we'll see. I think they've got a good team. They've made good signings. They put money in there. We'll see, as per usual, see how it goes. I think Palace are doing well. Oliver Glasner, I rate him. I think he's a good manager. He's the right man for Palace at this moment in time. We will see where that goes in the coming game weeks. That's pretty. I'm sure. Obviously, I think these episodes will get better and a bit more in depth. A few game weeks in, because currently, and I know we've repeated it a fair few times and said it in different phrases, but it's very early.
Aye.
It's, as football fans watching this, you'll know it's way too early to start going, he's a good player, he's shit. They're going down, they're staying up, they're winning the league, he's doing that in confidence. Some games obviously they tell a bit more. You can see players that have potential in them. You can see that. For me and Doy, looking at him, I just felt like he could be a key for him this season. And could is the key word, because 2 weeks' time he could be stinky. And like Victor Gyökeres, he had a lucky game. The rest of the games he's going to be dropping stinkers. He's going to get bodied by Van Dijk at Liverpool. It's going to be great. Hope he does his ACL. That's a joke. That's a joke. It's a joke. But if you're comfortable with the conversation had, we can move into not Goodison Park, Hill Dickinson Stadium, innit?
Yes.
Hill Dickinson.
Very beautiful stadium, by the way. Very, very nice.
The Toffees.
Aye.
Pick up the victory against the Seagulls. It's not often that you're able to defeat the Seagulls by the sea. Usually nick your chips.
Getting
This
very
time
hairy on me.
Everton nicked the 3 points.
I mean, I think the best way to sum this game up is Everton are already looking at signing Jack Grealish permanently, which I think tells you all you need to know about how he got on in his debut. But I just thought Everton were quality. I genuinely think they were amazing to watch. Obviously, I don't expect it to be the atmosphere like that every week. When they're at home. I think there will be games where it probably falls off a bit, but the Everton fans showed up in their numbers for the opening of the new stadium. They were making some noise when that team walked out onto the pitch, and Everton will be hoping they can keep that up, because they've got some good, they've got a good team linked by a new stadium with good fans. I think it was about 51,000 in attendance. They could have a really good season, kid.
Yeah, they could, and I think also something for me that's important is I think Pickford was very good. To pinpoint a player, which is hard to do because I do think they played well. Obviously, the likes of Ghana played great at fullback, and I was also quality. Dewsbury, I thought, played good, and obviously Grealish was the standout. He's the man of the match, realistically speaking. But for me, I think Pickford was quality. I think Pickford really kept them in the game, and I think it was a good game week in the sense of people that had been shitting on Pickford and people saying Trafford's England's new number one. As an England fan, obviously, Pickford's never let down. And I don't think now's the time to decide. A man who can't pass out from the back's going to be England's new number one when we're already not a great team. But yeah, the stadium was nice. It's a good start for them. Obviously, that's it. You start as you mean to go on, as they say. So Everton fans not had a great recent few years. So
No.
they had 1 year. I remember it. The Kazoo title race lasted about 4 weeks, and they had James Rodriguez and mentally speaking, Carlo Ancelotti as manager, which is insane to think he did that at Everton, and then went and won the Champions League with Real Madrid. But no, I think Everton played well. They've got potential to do well this season.
Very good manager in charge of them as well, Moisey. You know what you're getting.
David Moyes.
David Moyes. Yeah, bastard.
But I don't the woman's not the journalist isn't a woman because he was still slapping. So that for me is one of the most outrageous things I think said that's never been like brought back up.
I know.
That he just goes, "Well, I don't care, you're a woman, I'll still thump you."
As well, there's been so many moments like that, like not even just managers, but like pundits like Carragher spitting at somebody that just never gets brought back up.
It happened. I think he apologised, didn't he? Online, he tweeted. But it's more mad to think that the guy would have been like 40 odd years old. Someone's pulled up next to him, gone, "Unlucky, Jamie lad, haha, 2-1," and your response to that is to spit at them, and then just stay in the job. But there is. I remember the Alan Pardew clip that goes around. I believe it is with his own commentary. We're not going to repeat it on air.
Aye.
If you know what we mean, you'll know what we mean. A winger does a good bit of skill and gets past someone, and he uses an interesting terminology. It's something you say on FIFA, to be fair.
Aye.
If you've been beaten 5-0 on FIFA in Foot Champs, you'd probably say you've been it. Wasn't great, but Brighton didn't seem to get going.
No, the big news is obviously Cam, who I thought done well at points. It was a bit sloppy in the first half. Matt O'Reilly being linked with Juventus. Bit of an interesting move. I wonder if that's going to fall through now that he's maybe going to find himself starting a bit more for Brighton now. But look, Brighton, they're such a weird team. You just never know how they're going to play. You never know how Brighton are going to play. They can be so good one week and so poor the next. But they've got a decent team. Keeping Mitoma, I feel like it's going to be important to them. He's obviously a key player. But I look at them like I look at Bournemouth or Nottingham Forest. Do they have enough again to push maybe up into the top 6? Do they have enough to make that jump up? I don't know. We'll need to wait and see, obviously. I think both Everton and Brighton play cup games tonight, so it'll be interesting to see how they get on.
Yeah, I do believe they do. I think no one in Brighton for me really stood out as since some of these games where teams have been battered with you can pick a player out and say he played well despite the result. For me, thinking the Brighton game, I don't think there was anyone that really made me go. They've got some. Obviously, Mitoma's good anyway. We know that, but I don't think he was overly impressive in this game. Obviously, again, as we've said multiple times, it is hard in these scenarios when you lose the game. Can you really look that impressive? Sometimes, yeah. Majority of the time, no. And as we've said a fair few times, better team, better squad, played better. Team that lost didn't play good.
Do you worry about Brighton? Sorry's depth. I mean, I'm looking at the bench and I'm still seeing James Milner in 2025, which, no disrespect to Milner, I'm sure he's a good body to have around, but is he really what Brighton want and going forward?
Well, for me, Brighton, apologies, they're a feeder club. They're not. They don't try and build a squad, so it really wouldn't shock me if they let Matt O'Reilly go, and then next summer Baleba gets sold, and then they'll replace them with some random Africans, some young players they've signed, and then in 4 or 5 years' time they'll probably get sold off, and it'll just rinse and repeat. But they just to the point where they're able to stay up.
Aye. I mean, Brighton have been better at doing that, I feel, than maybe other clubs that have tried to do it, and I feel like that's why they have been finishing maybe a bit higher than usually expected. So I do feel like it'll be an interesting into the window for Riley does decide to go to Juventus. Everton, can you see why they already want to get Grealish on the permanent? Obviously, he's had a very, very good start, 2 assists. 2 very well worked assists, by the way. So it's sort of a dream start for him.
Yeah, it went very well for him there. My earphones have died, so that's not great.
I'd argue we can hear you a bit better. So.
Oh, okay. Well, spent 200 quid on these bastards just for the iPad, mic, to be better. No, yeah, I think Grealish was quality, and he's a great player. And I think the reason he was never that good at City was because he's not allowed the freedom. And going back to what I said earlier about Pep, probably an hour and a half ago now, was that he probably nails in specifics. That's why I think Foden doesn't do as well as he could there. And the likes of Doku and Serginho struggle in a sense because they're not allowed that expression. Whereas you look at Grealish when he's at Villa, he'd slow down a bit, take it, he'd go past his man cutting and shoot. Whereas with City, he's not allowed that freedom. It's a lot more, don't take that man on, pass it back inside, drop back to make the pass achievable, rather than take it, go, and then cut in and shoot. Obviously, we see it sometimes, but majority of the time the instruction is keep the passing going.
Aye.
You know what I mean? What these on charge?
I think Everton have a very well-rounded team. You're looking at, obviously it didn't get off to a great start, 1-0 loss away to Leeds, but they've got some semi-decent fixtures. They've got Wolves and then Villa, and then it's into the Merseyside derby. So, I'm sure Moyes will get the players right up for their type of games.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing with having a manager like David Moyes. I think he's got the experience to be able to do stuff like, oh my head is having a nightmare. He's got the experience to be able to do something like that and get the players ready for games. And I think, there's people saying Everton might not survive this season. I think they'll stay up quite comfortably.
Aye.
Looking at probably a mid-table spot.
Yeah, they're another one of the mid-table teams, aren't they, really?
Yeah, just kind of this season especially, I think they are kind of locked in for that. Aye. But are you comfortable with the Everton-Brighton game?
Yeah.
Getting to our penultimate game of the episode. Craven Cottage here. Fulham won.
Tony can FC.
Fulham won. Man United won.
Aye, I believe we both did watch this game live.
We did.
I suppose then we need to go to you first. It would only be right if we were the Manchester United fan first. There was some weird stat about for the first time in 15 years. I can't quite remember what it was. You right remember. But I'll leave it to you to take this game away.
Where's the start? It wasn't great. It wasn't great at all. I think, then this game, I can speak from a fan perspective. I back Kobe Brown on him. I really do. But the likes of why he's not playing Kobe? Why is Sesko not playing? It's not like he's not fit. We had pre-season at Leipzig. He should be match fit, and he could. I think we spoke to Robbie about it. He said he might be trying to get him up to speed. But I think it's nonsense. I think he's ready. You've signed him. You've brought him in. He's already had pre-season. He came on for a little bit. But forgot who he played now. That is quality.
Really?
He came on in the fucking first game of the season, I think.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Can I just say, is that true? The Sky put on a hang first time in 15 years Man United failed to win at Craven Cottage. I did not realise that was a record.
Probably, yeah. Because think of how good we were back in the day.
No, but I just meant that I'm surprised that, no disrespect last season, but I'm surprised Fulham maybe didn't pick up a win a draw at Craven Cottage last year.
I think we won 2-1 last year. Who knows? But with the Arsenal game, when Sesko came on, you could see the difference, because the thing that really bugged me about that game specifically was we played well, we created chances, but what good's creating chances if you've not got a striker on the pitch to finish it? And I think it kind of felt the same this game. I don't understand why Casemiro's playing over Kobe Mainoo. I don't even get why Mainoo's not being given that chance. Sissasko came on. I don't think he was overly amazing, but I don't understand why he subbed Mount off. I think Mount played better than Mbeumo. I think Mount was probably our best player on the pitch, and Bruno really pissed me off because the referee bumped into him. And I think any normal footballer maybe would have just laughed it off, chuckled it, stepped up, took your pen. Guy picks his ball up and starts whining. He shouldn't be the captain for me. You can't be trying to lead your team and in that scenario start crying at the ref because he accidentally bumped into you. I get unprofessional maybe. He wasn't looking. You wasn't looking. It happened. You could have laughed, giggled, picked the ball up, compose yourself, put it down. Instead, you've started whining. You've started dilly-dallying.
Do you think taking away Bruno's maybe attitude towards that situation and just general, if you take the player in general and the way he played, do you feel bad that he's maybe not playing in his natural position where he feels most fit? Because that was, I think, the biggest thing Man United take away. He played in that role, but he didn't look like he knew how to play that role. He looked like, if you put him a bit more further forward, maybe he looks a bit more comfortable, but he's playing in that sort of deeper midfield role and he just didn't look like he was in the game at all.
I agree. I think that he's obviously been dropped down. You've gone from your number 10, gone from your classic attacking midfielder or being forward to now having to drop a bit deeper. But it's what's got to happen, which is the issue, because then, you could look at that and say that's why we should have sold him to Saudi for money. But then again, in a year's time, Ruben could be sacked. And then you'd be crying out for a creative attacking midfielder, which you've already got. So it's very tough. It's tough. I still think we need some signings in the door. We definitely need a goalkeeper. Although saying that Bayender was a little bit better, but he's still not quality enough for United.
I'm guessing.
I don't think Fulham were that good either, to be honest.
I don't think Fulham showed much, to be honest. But do you think that's still Nana definitely done at Man United now?
Yeah, I think so, but it wasn't great. Just the whole thing wasn't good.
I mean, look, it's not been an ideal start for Amorim. There's been so much talk of the summer about how Man United are going to be going into this season. A guy I don't personally like to give much credit to, but I will, for his point, Mark Goldbridge. Obviously, I know a lot of Man United fans have their opinion on him. It seems like Man United are almost treating this like their pre-season games, when realistically, you should have been prepared weeks ago. Getting this, I still feel like there's a lot Man United in it today. What about the new signings in the team, but the sort of two up front and Mbeumo and Cunha? How do you think they've settled into life so far?
I think Cunha more than Mbeumo, to be honest. Cunha seems to he stood out in the Arsenal game. I think he stood out today. Well, not today, obviously. On Sunday, as an improvement. There's more life in the team. Mbeumo's played well, but he's not been overly as great. I think Cunha's played better. But they've definitely added a new life to the team in a sense. They've added that a little bit more, which is important. I just feel like we just got to get the striker in there, get the new keeper in, look for the centre back as well, and a midfielder in an ideal world. But I just really hope we don't lose Kobe.
Aye, I mean, there's obviously been a lot of talk about Kobe Mainoo and his future. I mean, I'm going to assume you think he's one of the most valuable midfielders Man United have got. I mean, if you look at that two that played in the midfield, really no great against Fulham. I mean, they just, I don't think any of them look comfortable. So are you hoping Kobe can maybe get back into the team?
Yeah, I hope he starts tonight against Grimsby. He just doesn't seem to get given a chance.
Tonight?
Huh?
Is it not tonight? No, is it tomorrow?
It's tonight.
Oh, I thought you said tomorrow, sorry.
Oh, no, I said I hope he starts tonight against Grimsby.
Aye.
I think, anyway. I might be wrong there, but yeah, I hope he gets his chance tonight. Be interested. It's more annoying that the likes of Ugarte get the choice over him. Just doesn't sit right with me when I think that Maine's the better player. We'll see where it goes. Obviously, I assume tonight the likes of Heaven will probably start. We'll have those younger players slot Mainu in there. Sesko might even start. That'd be a dream. I think less Sesko, probably more like Xerxes.
Aye.
Yeah, it is tonight. 8 o'clock tonight. Everton play Mansfield, Fulham play Bristol, Brighton play Oxford, United play Grimsby.
Aye, and I'm going to be honest with you. You look at the Fulham side, Kyne, I don't think you can say much about Fulham. They got a really scrappy 1-1 draw with Man United in a game that, let's be honest, it didn't provide too much, to be honest with you. It wasn't a breathtaking game to watch. Fulham will just, again, one of the teams mid-table, you could predict them like 13th, 12th, in that sort of region come the end of the season. Did you take much away for them?
No, really. I just think, looking at it, the scenario that I think even Fulham, I don't think they're a great team. I don't think there's anyone in Fulham for me that sticks out as a key player that is on a quality level where it does boost them up, if you know what I mean. In that sense, to make them feel a better side. I feel like they lack a quality striker. So Leno's good. I think Tete, he's a good player, but again, it's like we discussed earlier. There's levels when you play on these like mid-table teams of players that are kind of on that mediocre side of things, and those players that do boost you up a step and do give you that extra bit. And I think Fulham lack it. I think currently, to be honest, United lack it. I think we just lack having somebody just proper that can get the team going, which is what people were hoping for with Sesko. I think Cunha and Mboma brought life to the team, but feels like we're still missing that someone to just give us the fucking kick up the arse. Someone like Roy Keane. That's all we need.
Aye, exactly. I got all you can figure in there would be perfect.
Slap Bruno down the head, say stop bitching about the penalty. What can you do?
Aye, that's fair enough.
What do you think about the way United performed?
I mean, I don't think either team were absolutely brilliant, to be honest with you. I thought it was a scrappy game of football. What I will say is, I think Man United need to utilise their set pieces a bit more and the heightened the squad. And you look at the Hida Figueroa, obviously, I know Gustin is an own goal, but just having some of the players on the pitch that United have, to me, screams, utilise your set pieces a bit more. I know there's a whole trend going about tonight. It's funny. I know there's a whole Grimsby trend about how good they are at set pieces and they use their set pieces well. So we'll see how that goes tonight. But I think just overall, Man United, they have a lot of big guys in there that can go and cause you problems. So, if you're wanting to get some goals this season, use your set pieces. But I do think you're right. There's a lot of work that needs to still be done at United. In my opinion, I don't know your stance on this, but I wouldn't sack Amorim. I don't see how that fixes this reoccurring issue that Man United seem to have. I think it's far too early anyway to be talking about stacking managers. So, at game time, I think it will work out fine. And I'm need to check your fixture list. You've got Grimsby, Burnley, then the Derby, and Chelsea and Brentford. I mean, the next two games, you've got to have 2 wins under your belt minimum. That's what you need. And then you obviously go into 2 big games against Man City and Chelsea. So it's going to be a very interesting, let's just say next 5 days now until the window shuts. It's going to be interesting to see what else Man United get done in that time to try and progress forward. Because, if Man United drop points to Burnley at the weekend, which I don't think will happen, but if that does happen, the pressure is right on Amorim straight away.
Yeah. It's probably not going to look great for him. I know people already think he might get sacked. Some people are already calling for his head. It's going to be a tough season, I've got a feeling. I don't think it's going to be great, to be honest.
It's weird because I predicted Man United, I think, top 4 or top 6. You've obviously went a bit lower. but that's I think more what to expect than I do. But the outside looking in, it did look like there was some decent business getting done. I maybe thought there would have been one or two more deals being done by now. There was obviously reports of Sani Lamens, I think the goalkeeper's name is, 23-year-old Belgian, coming into Man United. I do believe another bid's been put in from, I believe, Galatasaray, or that might be where he is. There was another team that put a bid in for him that exceeded Man United's bid, so we'll see how that one goes. But is there any names that stick out to you as you want in before the window shuts?
To be honest, I think the issue with some of these scenarios is like Lemons, where no one's watching the Belgian Pro League. Right, no one is. So you've heard he's good, you've seen a few clips, but then you see clips of some howlers he's conceded.
Look at Onana before he came to Man United. You can go and look at clips of him and it looks outstanding.
Clips mean nothing. I've said, I say all the time, if I went to the park and recorded myself playing football long enough, you could edit it down to about 4 or 5 peaches that score. You go play longies with your mates. 40 of them are going to fucking go nowhere, but 10 of them, there'll be the odd one that bends like Beckham. It'll fly top pins bar and it'll look beautiful. You cut them together, looks like playing the fucking championship. So for me, they're the issues. Is you go and watch it and you go, "Oh, look at this goal he scored." Yeah, but what did he do for the 89 minutes? What was the rest of the game like? Because everyone can nick up and score one goal, but are they actually going to contribute to the team? Are they actually going to, give us something? So for me, I'll be honest, I'm not going to sit here and act like I watch loads of other leagues by the Prem, and occasionally Scotland, right? So I'm not gonna part off some names of random foreign players that I think are quality. I don't know any. I trust in Ruben Amorim, right? If he wants to sign people, sign them. I think it's the most honest I can be in the sense of I'm not going to sit and say sign Lemons as a goalkeeper. I've never watched him in my life. I'd have liked Donnarumma. Rumour is that City are trying to chat to him. Probably puts us out the fucking race for him. I don't see why Ruben's not trying to snap his hand off. Give him that extra money because he's probably the best keeper in the world. And that is what they're looking. Yeah, 20 million.
Aye, 20-30 million. I mean, it's an absolute bargain for him.
It's fucking a third of what Onana was.
Aye.
Half of Onana even. Just for me, that'd be it. But I'm not looking forward to tonight.
I'm confident. I think you'll get a full cash for time fine, Kyne. I don't think there's any worries about
that. I don't know, man. Fucking shit.
Well, Gern's put on as a set piece specialist this season, so maybe one corner will just find its way in.
Yeah, it's not going to be.
No, the Man United will go on fine. In terms of what's next for Fulham, Tony Kyne FC, they've got Bristol today in the cup, then Chelsea away, Leeds at home, Brentford at home, and Villa away. So again, no playing Arsenal, City or Liverpool anytime soon. Arsenal on the 18th of October, so next really big game. Chelsea, of course, still be tough on Saturday. That's the early kick-off as well. So it's going to be an interesting few weeks for them.
Yeah, I think Fulham have got a few games coming up that could go either way. So it'll be, I think, interesting really just to see which way the tables turn in those games. If you pick up them 3 points, if they don't, again, I think they're very mid-table. It's a very bog standard season for them. Don't think there's anything too impressive that stands out in the side.
No, it's just a very old balanced side, to be honest with you.
But would you? Are you content with moving into the main event of the evening?
If you are, then am I.
Yeah, obviously Monday, 25th of August, we had probably the best game of the weekend, I'd say. Most entertaining in probably all sides of things. We're at St James's Park for a 5-goal. Let me put my iPad on. I hope we don't cut the stream off.
I mean,
no, we're fine. I just wanted to put it on silent because I kept getting fucking notifications.
Before you even get into the game, no matter what you say, well, we've mentioned it hundreds of times before in other games. It's usually a case of the best team wins, the worst team loses. In this game, it was the worst team won and the best team lost. No matter what you say from a Liverpool standpoint, things need to improve fast. There's certain players you could pick out. There's certain decisions for slot that just baffle me. I think Soboslai done his job at right back, but while we cannot go into a season with Soboslai at right back because he will get ripped apart. Kanate just absolutely honking in that game, Kyne. I mean, you said that any proper attack really break Liverpool down, score a few more because while the back four were making some amount of mistakes, it just was solely a case of the best team lost and the worst team won. It was a really bad performance for Liverpool. Newcastle, if they had Isak and this wasn't such a big saga and there wasn't so much going around it, does he score a couple in this game? Are Liverpool beaten? Maybe 4-2, does that happen in the game? We never know, but any better team than Newcastle would have taken a few more off of Liverpool that night.
Yeah, 100%. I think that would have definitely been a game where a Man City or an Arsenal would have punished them a bit more. I think Newcastle just suffered from not having Isaac tonight. Well, fucking not tonight, Monday night. If they had Isaac, I think would have been going their way. I think Bruno Guimaraes was probably the standout overall for Newcastle side. Anthony Gordon, though, was probably the best player on the pitch for the first 45 minutes. Until he just... I don't know what it was, to be honest.
You know what? Somebody said it right. Love the dedication of the boy to try and get out of Van Dijk and try and win the ball. But he went about it in a complete wrong way. There is no need to go into a tackle like that.
It was obviously you watched it, so I think you learned it at half time. That might have been Robbie Savage, I think, or one of them. That was a Michael Owen. I hate it. They're all shit. Can't stand them. Was saying that it was retribution because Van Dijk bumped into him last season. And then, in fairness, they did mention, you watch it back. I don't know who it was. I don't want to get the names wrong, but he chases down Soboslai, passes it across. He's still running full speed at the ball. He's played to Van Dijk. He's going for it. And I think if he'd have slide tackled properly and, maybe his right foot was out more towards the ball and he still connected with a leg, it could have been a yellow. But he does go right on the calf. He doesn't really look when he's going down into it. I think he just preempted, more if anything, Van Dijk falling on him. So he kind of turned his head in a bit of a flinchy way. He goes straight into him. It was a red. I seen someone complain about the speed he was going at. I went, what do you expect him to do? Jog?
I know.
He's trying to win the ball. He's going at full pace. In fairness, I don't think it's a bad attempt. I think the issue is just the challenge itself, the way he did it. Because the attempt is standard. You're running for the ball. You're chasing it. Van Dijk's about to kick it. He's gone at the right time. He's just not gone about it the right way. He's not stuck his foot out to try and connect the ball. He's just kind of gone in.
People only complain about the speed of the tackle because it's the speed of the tackle. Like, if he had went in at that speed and won the ball, people would have been loving it because it would have actually been a decent tackle. But he didn't, and it just takes one picture of Van Dijk's leg to realise how bad the tackle actually is.
Yeah, there was a lot on there.
It's a tackle on a point of the game where Newcastle were 1 down. The crowd were starting to get a wee bit nervy. They were trying to push their team on, get a bit more aggressive. Jamie Carragher said it after the game, banners for the fans saying get stuck into them don't help. You could almost sense a red card was going to come because you could see all the banners that were going a bit before the game. It was set up for the red card, so I'm not surprised one did end up happening.
Yeah, I think, especially Simon Hooper in the first 10, 15, 20 minutes even. It was very card, loving. There was a lot of it calling for fouls, giving cards out. Not just for that, obviously, it did feel like there was going to be a red in that game. Because there was just already going. I think there were some players that should have been booked that didn't get booked. So it kind of felt like he started very card happy to set a pace, kind of. But then didn't keep that same momentum going because Kirkes probably should have been booked for time wasting. Joe Linton probably should have got booked as well. But what can you do? I think Newcastle played well. I think they were very unlucky the first half to roll over Liverpool, then down to 10 men. They struggled a bit more, but they were still the better side, I say. You could see the difference, obviously, but they did struggle a bit more. And obviously, as we know, William Asula came on, scored what seemed to be a late equaliser, hit the John Cena. And I don't think the commentary did it on purpose, but as wrestling fans, you might have caught the reference. He went, and his name's William Asula. Whilst he was hitting the You Can't See, which was really cool. And I said to him straight away, I went, bang, that's the thumbnail sorted. We're getting him doing that. It's going to be great. And then minutes later...
Young Rio Namoa. 96th minute, it comes on.
We'll have a bit more of a normal reaction. Obviously, we're not Anfield Agenda.
Yeah.
A very weird bloke because he's in his 30s, 40s in a basement.
I used to love Craig's content. I used to watch every stream. I used to be in every, I used to comment all the time because I just thought it was different than Goldbridge. I thought it was, a bit more respectful, a bit more opinionated base. He was a bit more fair, but some of the comments he's been hitting it with this year, wow, man, it has been absolutely crazy.
It was just that specific comment.
I don't think there was any need to make. There is overreacting when a goal goes in, and then there's that.
There's, being excited, there's being happy. Like when Maguire, Maguire, I think, versus Leon scored. It's just a moment of screaming, cheering. Nothing like that went in my mind. Like if Amas scored a winner tonight, lovely.
Yeah.
Great. The comment Anfield Agenda made was saying that he loves a 16-year-old boy and he wants him to have his children. If I was a part of the guards in Ireland, I'd probably go around and check his hard drive because it's just not. It's not right. You can't say that.
I know, it is mental, but look, don't take anything away for young Rio. I mean, it is some moment for the wee guy. It's a goal that Newcastle fans were really trying to find any excuse to no gi. Apparently it was offside when there was about 10,000 pictures of him being clearly onside. It's really good work by, I can't remember, was it Zoboslai that left the ball? It was somebody like that, if they could play the cross with Salah. Rio, I really can't finish, by the way, for the young guy to finish the ball like that in such a high pressure situation. You've got to give him credit. And look, Jamie said it after the game. You've got to get him more involved. He's clearly up there. Even before that goal, right? And I know he was only on a pitch about 4 minutes, but you could see he was trying to dribble with the ball. You could see he wasn't scared to take people on. Just give him more opportunities. He will be a good player for Liverpool. And it makes you think when Anfield Agenda was asked, would you sell him for $100 million? And they said no. A lot of people laugh, but he might be a more valuable asset than that in a couple of years to come for Liverpool.
You never know. I've just seen some heartbreaking news. Perpalaki has died. Which is a bit. Obviously, he's probably on the same level as Anfield Agenda in a weirdo sense of things.
Aye.
But he's
That's a name. I've no heard in a while.
But yeah, with a Rio situation, I think he's 16. Anything can happen. Obviously, now you're in men's football, it's different. Because I think you look at Charlie McNeil for United. In the academy at City, he had over 200 odd goals or something. He was phenomenal. Playing under 21s when he was dead young, came to United, scored an hat-trick against City. Was phenomenal, just unbelievable. Gets to men's football, and it's League 2, League 1 quality. It happens, but with Rio, he's looks good. You can only just see where it goes, really, because players fizzle out. Players don't reach a potential. They don't. All the potential is what they are now. The peak isn't as high as people think. So obviously, you'll see where it goes. I don't want to speak anything horrible onto him, but anything can happen in any scenario in games. Stuff happens. It happens to players all the time. Young players that are deemed to be phenomenal can take one. I don't even want to say it, to be honest. I don't want to speak it on.
Not even an injury, but Liverpool need to just be careful with how much you play him. You don't want to rush him in too much. The last thing you want to do is give the boy too much pressure and too much game time, and he just can't handle it, and he starts tailing off a wee bit. It's the last thing they want. But they found a real genuine player that has all the makings of being a star for Liverpool. He does. In a few years, he could genuinely be that guy for Liverpool, and I think that's what excites the fans. And of course, the fans are going to be online, kind of getting it. Get him in every week, play him every week. Don't rush him in. do not rush Rio into the starting 11. There's no need. We've got Liverpool have enough quality there in the starting 11 and on the bench as well, by the way, and that's no disrespect to Rio, but they've got enough quality where you don't need to bring them on every week.
No, it's good enough, and I think you don't want to burn him, you don't want to put that pressure on him too much. I think that's kind of what happened to Garnacho in a sense. Got rushed in. Obviously, he's got his own attitude issues anyway, but bar that, there's all scenarios that occur. So we'll see. Some players sometimes, though, are ready to be rushed in. Some players are ready to hit the ground. So you'll see what happens, I'm sure, in the coming weeks and, months even, if he does end up being a slow rotation burner to get to that point, or if he ends up coming out half time in certain games, starting a cup game against the Prem side, You never know. Obviously, as we've discussed in other scenarios, Newcastle's fixtures up next at Leeds next, which is interesting. R5 at Elland Road, I believe it is. So that'll be
We just wonder now. The biggest thing that this team's not even in that games. It's what the Isaac deal is. What's going on with him? What's the script? Is he going to be gone by the end of the window? Is he going to stay there and rot in the reserves for the next year? What's going to happen with that guy?
I think he stays.
Do you think things get resolved, or do you think he does ultimately just get left at the team?
I think he reserves.
It's such a waste of a guy that is genuinely got so much talent. It can be a top striker, but him rotting in the is ultimately his fault. And look, we don't know, by the way, we don't know if a promise has been broken with the Newcastle board. We don't know if he was promised that I move away from the club or whatnot. But if he was to result brought in the reserves for a year, what does that mean for his career? That takes a massive hit. It's as simple as will Sweden call him up for the next international break? Will they call him up and get him playing?
I don't know, because if he's not played, I think it's hard to take someone who's not potentially played for weeks, months, and say they're fit enough to start and play. So you just have to see.
Our question's been answered. Sweden do have 2 World Cup qualifying games against Slovenia and Kosovo coming up, and Isak has been included in the Swedish squad. So it looks like they are planning on keep playing him, which, I suppose, is only fair when you've probably got one of the best strikers and one of the best players in your team. You're going to try and get him in, but it will be interesting to see how the next week goes, the next 5 days. The window shuts next Monday, so it'll be really interesting.
Yeah, I'm more worried there for United. What's going to occur, to be honest.
Aye.
See what we can get in that time. It'll be interesting, but Newcastle, they made good signings so far. They just need that number 9. Jacob Ramsey came in. He looked good when he came on the pitch. Belanga was great for Forest last season. Ramsdale, bit of an interesting one, because he was sat on the bench, didn't look overly amused during the game. And Liverpool, obviously Arsenal up next on Sunday, Super Sunday. Be a big test, because they need to play a lot better than they did. If they play how they did, Arsenal will punish them, and that could be a big game in 30 games' time.
Aye, I mean, I don't want to speak too soon on the title race, but whoever wins at Liverpool and Arsenal has got a huge advantage already. Liverpool need to step up the performances, especially ahead of such a big game. I think it'll be interesting to see the team sheet. I think that's what I'm most excited to see. Is he going to stick with Dom's obviously at right back? Will he maybe put in Connor Bradley? I don't know. We'll need to wait and see. But I just think you cannot be that poor against Arsenal. If you're that poor, Arsenal can pick you apart. And then I know you don't like hearing this as a Man U guy, but I could see Gyökeres scoring 1 or 2 goals against Liverpool.
I don't know. I don't know if he can outdo Virg.
Well, look, if Gyökeres has a really poor game against Liverpool, the fans will be left questioning if that is the right number 9 for Arsenal. They need a number 9 that doesn't just do it in every game, but it needs to be able to do it in big moments as well.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what occurs if you can hack it against Liverpool. Is it at Anfield or is it at the Emirates? Is it Anfield?
Anfield, aye.
I think he's going to get some fucking fright. because I think Anfield will be up for it that day.
No.
And hearing "You'll Never Walk Alone" on the speakers, it's intense.
His bottle might crash. You know what though? We've just sat here and Rio's bottle could crash as well. If that's another problem. I don't think it will. I think Rio will be able to hold his nerve if he's needed in this game. But if you bring Rio on and he's here in the atmosphere, maybe the game's not going well for Liverpool. What if his bottle crashes as well? What if he starts feeling the pressure? What if he gets a bit nervous, makes a mistake that maybe leads to an Arsenal goal? It's all these things you need to just be careful with.
Yeah, anything like that can happen, can't it? At any point, to be fair. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. I think I'm content with the discussion on said game.
I'm very content.
What do you think? I think it may be time to
yeah, we have been going for 2 hours and 35 minutes.
Wrap it up, because based off TTZ, WrestleMania review for an hour didn't do well. So we'll see how this one settles in their ice cake.
Nah.
Thank you for watching the debut episode. If you've tuned in, we massively appreciate it. Please subscribe and like, and check out our social media handles. And then if you go over to X and find us there, it's got all our social media pinned anyway. So I've been Kyne.
I've been Robbie, and also I should give a quick shout out to Kyne. You might not know this man has put an autograph for this, and I mean he's created everything. The thumbnails, the logo, he's created the bio, which is an absolutely amazing bio, by the way. If you've not seen it, I go and check it out.
It's all because of this man.
The CM Punk signature there. We go. I
don't
know. Did you meet CM Punk? You never mentioned it.
Oh, did I not mention I met CM Punk? Not like I posted it on Snapchat, Instagram, and TikTok.
And Facebook.
And Facebook. I don't even use Facebook, but I had to because I met fucking CM Punk, mate.
There he is, big Peps Phil. But no, the hard work of this channel starting does make good into Kyne. At a time where we've been through so many different podcasts, so many different shows, we've tried it so many different times. It does feel like this could be the one that worked.
This was the banker. This was like good.
We will be chatting to Gary Neville, and we will be on the overlap soon enough.
I have got some good news.
Oh.
Tomorrow, Thursday, the 28th of August, I am playing a darts match against the well-known, the man whose head's on fire, David Hayter.
Ooh.
Can Kyne
win?
No, I'm gonna get my ass. I'm gonna find a way. I'm gonna find a way to cheat.
No, you cannot. You've said that live as well. You cannot cheat against this man.
I'm gonna freeze the camera, just place it in 180, and then I'll do 120, 120, and then I'll throw him on my start and be like, oh, I didn't know it was real. Sorry, Damo.
Yeah, bring us though, right? I hate is realistic. I don't know how many legs are you doing.
I don't know. He's not said. He just said, because he posted on his Instagram about match one shirts.
And
because we spoke, I messaged, any chance I can get one, please, Damo? And he went, I've got none left, but we still need to have that game, don't we, boy? He said, when are you free? I went, I'm free whenever for you, mate. And he went, I can do tomorrow at any time after 12 or next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I said, tomorrow work? And he went, yeah. I went 3 p.m. So we'll see. Hopefully have a 3 p.m. kickoff on a Thursday.
Aye. Are you going to stream it? Is it going to be available to watch? Or?
Yeah, it should be on the. I don't know if I can say the word.
Yeah, I can't lie, mate.
Darts League.
Don't expect yourself to take it enough a Dominator because
no, I'm getting.
He will. He will be good. I think you will what you want, right? You want him to hit a 180 realistically, because if he hits a 180 into you, then you can at least say, I've had a 180 hit into me by Big Damo.
I want to get to a finish.
Even if it's 170, you still want to be there.
Just get. I don't think there's a chance now.
No.
I could stand and play now for an hour and a half, play tomorrow morning, get 180 after 180, and it comes to that fucking match, he's just gonna.
Aye.
And I'll go, treble, and he's just gonna go, fuck off. And I'll go, oh my god, I'm on 170, and he's just gonna check out 140. Yeah. That's a bit nice one, yeah.
I hope. Actually, I know. Like when he played Tom, he made it 11 legs.
Yeah, lad, it's literally you're facing a former World Cup champion. You're facing the guy that won one of the biggest tournaments in the PDC.
But how many people that aren't pro darts players can say they've had a match versus Dominator?
Exactly, not a lot. But how many people? How many non-pros can say they've beat them?
One as of tomorrow, because I'm the best in the world. I'm the best on this microphone, in this ring. I'm going to wear that shirt. I'm going to empower CM Punk.
Did you meet CM Punk?
Oh, did I mention I met CM Punk?
Oh, we didn't wrap this up, man. It's been gone for 2 hours and 40 minutes.
CM Punk.
Right, thank you to everybody that's watched. Came in, Alfie, Sam, anybody else. A bit disappointed in Kino and the nearly 3 hours we've been going. Absolutely.
WWE underscore KG14 underscore WWE. You're a prick.
We will be back next week to discuss all the big talking points. There's some very big matches on this weekend. Then we're into an international break, which should be quite interesting.
Which isn't ideal, actually, is it?
No, but come up with
We've made the channel.
Aye, we'll find something. We'll always do. We always
check out Technical Talks.
But no, I've been Robbie. That has been Kyne. We will see you guys and the next one. Goodbye. Did you mention you met CM Punk?
No.